Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 202, Furious 7, Lap 9. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe 2, and this episode's brought to you by Jacob's Hack. What is Jacob's Hack? Jacob's Hack 2021 is the 7th edition of Jacob's Hack. It's a student-run hackathon where student hackers from Jacobs University Bremen come together to create and collaborate on kick-ass projects over the course of 24 hours. Shout out to Jacob's Hack. That's with an exclamation point. That's why I was...
I know. I Googled it because I usually Google it to make sure I get the spelling right, because I know that you have your very complicated email system where your correspondence with all these sponsors, and I don't have the password to that, so I want to make sure I got the right password or the right spelling. And it's rare to have a sponsor with an exclamation point, but here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, first for everything.
Joe, after the break, we will be talking about Furious 7, but extracurricular activities. What have you been up to since we last spoke?
Rachel and I were playing the video game, which is kind of rare for us, but we were playing the video game It Takes Two from the makers of, what was it, The Last of Us, I think? And they're like simple cooperative games. I find them very, very fun. They hold my interest really well. They're two-player games, and there's like a lot of like cooperative in the sense that like you need to do two people things at the same time, but the controls aren't very difficult.
Yeah, it's made by Hazelight Studios and published by EA. The game they made was A Way Out. They did not make
A Way
The Last
Out.
of Us.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Wildly different game.
Wildly different, yes, but I remembered you saying that, and I couldn't remember the other game. So yes, A Way Out was good, and A Way Out was
both of those games are co-op, two-player, same time, do the thing together.
Yeah, mostly story. There's like heavy influence on story. A Way Out was kind of like Prison Break if it was a game for two players.
Sure, okay.
This one is like you play as these little dolls, and there's a little girl that's really sad that her parents are getting divorced, and like you're trying to, be the parents, and in turn, getting them back together. But the game is fun. It's just like it's like puzzly stuff, easy controls. I really like it. It's great for Rachel and I, Rachel doesn't play a ton of video games. I've pretty much retired from video games. It's a nice in-between there.
Sure.
So, not watching a whole ton sports things. That's about it. That was like the main... Oh, also, I didn't tell you this other part of the story, but like... Okay, I'll tell like the first part of the story. I'm getting a new roof because I'm getting solar panels on my house. I'm really excited about it. So on Friday, they just dropped everything off. Like, Rachel dropped me off at work. She comes home. She's like... Oh, I guess we're getting a new roof. Like, we didn't hear any updates from them, but there was just, like, a bunch of roof materials in our driveway. Okay. And I was like, okay, cool. And so, like, yesterday, I was, like, expecting them to show up. Just, like, they didn't tell me, but I was expecting them to show up. They didn't, but they called me at, like, 5 o'clock yesterday. They're like, oh, we'll be there tomorrow morning. That's fine. I was like, what time should I expect them? And the lady's like, they'll be there at 8 a.m. And I was like, Rachel, I have a funny feeling that, like, these kind of guys aren't 8 a.m. guys. Like, I'm going to set my alarms for 7, just in case. 7:03, they ring the doorbell.
Cool.
And they're like, hey, we're here to do the roof. There's like 15, 20 guys in my backyard.
Okay.
I'm like, cool. Like, they're going to bang this thing out. This is awesome. They're like, sounds good. Can you just, like, move the car? And I'm like, pull my car up further in my driveway. Then I look outside, and none of them are there. They put a giant...
Interesting.
They put a giant dumpster... So, like, and then, like, 2 minutes later, a guy with a giant dumpster comes, puts it in the driveway. I'm like, cool. We had moved the car. They haven't been back. It's now 5 o'clock. Oh, actually, sorry. At 2 o'clock, they came back. 2 of them looked at the roof and then left again. So, I don't know what the fuck's happening here. Apparently, I'll get a roof at some point. Maybe not today. And it's supposed to rain, like, the next 3 days. So, like, I don't know what the fuck's happening. But They haven't been back. It's 5 o'clock. Like, I'm like, they're not going to be able to do this in 2 hours, right? Like...
No, I've now talked to 3 solar companies. Yeah, it's 1 day to do the roof and then 1 day to do the solar. So
yeah, and I have my solar part scheduled for next Wednesday. So I'm like, good luck, guys. But whatever. Right. I didn't do any of this. Fuck it. I'm just, yeah. Anyways, those are my 2 main updates. How are you doing, my friend?
Well, I have a solar update. I'm not going to do it on here because it just sounds like me whining. But I'll tell you later off mic that's just,
bullshit.
It's an industry I feel like plagued by hucksters and stuff. And
yes.
did not help me feel any better about that. But I will talk about that later.
Cool.
So that was that. Let's see here. I feel like I've done a lot of things. Thursday night, I went to my parents' house because we record on Wednesday. Thursday, I went to my parents' house for dinner, and then I saw The Card Counter in theaters, which is a new Oscar Isaac movie written and directed by Paul Schrader, who did Taxi Driver. Most recently, I think, did First Reformed. It's a poker movie that's also about way more than poker, and it is very intense. This is one of those ones where maybe I should have watched the trailer first. I mean, I still really liked it, but thinking it was going to be about poker specifically
or card counting
exclusively, it's about that, but not really. So really good though. I recommend that. Friday night I was out, and then I came home and I messaged you. I can't believe that you didn't bring this up because it is your personality now, according to Twitter.
Yes.
But I got back and I was like, I was clicking around different sites, and I'm like, oh, Racer Trash is on Twitch.
Very true.
So we, on the Speed Racer episode on our Patreon, toofast2forever.com, we talked to Garrett Smith about that. And so I watched like 140.
Oh, that was a Patreon episode? So like...
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we talked a lot about Racer Trash on that episode. Okay.
Can't talk about it here. It's a Patreon exclusive.
Zip.
But we watched that on Twitch for a while. They did a See You Again mashup, which was kind of fun, but it was great. So I think they go live like once a week or maybe once a month or something. But it was awesome. So that was Friday.
It was Dune. It was based on Dune this time, though.
Yeah, this was Dune. Apparently, this is one of their longer ones, one of their better, one of their more popular ones. I was talking to Garrett about it, so
that's cool.
I think he's seen it before. Then on Saturday, I went to the Yankee game where they lost 11-3, which was cool. On Sunday, they lost 11-1 to a team that is very bad. And this, it only took, an hour 20 to get there, like 2 hours, not 2 hours, maybe an hour 40 to get home. It's like $45 to park, expensive to eat. Like it's all, what an on-field performance from these are New York Yankees to lose 11-3.
What'd you eat? Did you eat anything good? Come on, what was the food like?
So Yankee Stadium kind of sucks, I think.
Really?
Well, it's underwhelming. Citi Field is a lot better.
I love Citi Field food, man.
So this was originally, I think I probably said on here, like a month or two ago, we were going to go to a Yankee game, me and Bob and my friend Dylan and Dylan's wife. And we were in the stadium, the game got rained out. Did I tell you about the story on here? I don't know. Anyway, that's the story. They were like, you can either swap these tickets for the split admission doubleheader we're doing this Sunday, or go to any other game. We're like, we'll go to any other game. So we went to this game on Saturday because it was Don Mattingly bobblehead giveaway day. Okay. And we're like, that'll be cool. So, but instead of this being 4 people, suddenly all of a sudden became 8 or 9 different people, and it was just like, oh, we're never going to get in the stadium on time for these bobbleheads. We just gave up that ghost. So Bob was like,
why don't you just go and be like, hey, meet me inside?
I'm getting there.
Okay, go ahead.
Bob is like, if we want to get to the stadium at 11, what time do I need to be at your house? And I was like, 9:45. He's like, cool. So he gets here at 9:30, and we leave, and we're to the stadium by 11. And we get there, we park. Parking is easy. It's expensive. It's right there. And the line is already insane. Crazy insane.
I hate that.
And so Dylan, who lives in the city, it's a 20-minute subway ride away, isn't there. We don't think the tickets he's going to give us are going to work. It's just it's a whole thing. And not that they're not going to work, but I think he needs to be there. It's one of those kind of fancier ticket entry things or whatever. And so we're like, I guess we'll just, hang here and drink or whatever. So we went to this bar near the stadium. We were there until 1:30, even though the game started at 1. And then we get inside and it's a bad game, obviously, number one. But people are just trying to hang out. Me and Bob are like, why are we here? Why did we come to the game, spend money on the game, on the tickets, on the parking, on the driving and everything to not watch the game? So it's just one of those kind of things.
Oh, but I think that there's different level of
I know,
baseball game people.
Yes,
because
I know, but you and Brian are the same way. It's just I don't have to watch the game. I can just be in the stadium. I don't want to do that. I have zero interest in that.
Then you can go sit and watch a game. You don't have to stand with other people.
Well, that's the thing. So that's what I'm getting to. So me and Bob and Dylan are sitting, and the game gets out of hand. They give up 7 runs in the 5th or whatever, and they're like, we're going to be in center field. Come meet us in center field. So I'm like, I'm going to go get food. I go get food. I come back to the seats. They're gone. So I'm like, where are you guys? And they're like, oh, we're in center. I'm sorry. And I had bought the popcorn or the chicken fingers and the french fries bucket because I was like,
nice.
They're the seat. I'll share it with them. Yeah. I sit down. It's by myself, and I'm just like, fuck. I would have just I wanted a hot dog. I should have just bought a hot dog.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Well, I was going to share with my friends. I was sorry that I'm trying to be a good friend to share food with them, and then they abandoned me.
That's a good thing, but just get your fucking hot dog if you want a hot dog, bud. Come on.
I'm not the bad guy here.
You're not the bad guy, but you should have. Don't set expectations on other people ever.
Well, if they had texted me, "Hey, we're leaving," because I was online for a while, and
That's
if they had
fair.
said we're leaving, I would have been like, "Okay, cool, I'll get a hot dog."
Okay. Touche. They should have just been like, yes. Okay, that's consideration.
So I had
Come meet me, and then
salty,
we already
shitty
left.
chicken fingers for $20, right?
It's okay. I mean, well, that was par for the course, but
That was Saturday. And then Sunday, Mike came down. Well, then Bob came over and we did some How to Win the Lottery pod, whatever. And then Sunday, Mike came down because there's a new Nicolas Cage movie out, Prisoners of the Ghostland. So we recorded an Elvis pod. And then we watched Prisoners of the Ghostland, which is in select theaters, but also on VOD. So we watched that,
cool.
did an episode about that.
Cool.
So that was cool. Those episodes are already out, the Cage and the Elvis. And then he left, and I watched the Vikings lose again. Very cool. And then that was Sunday. And then since then, I was telling you sort of, I flipped my office and what used to be my guest room, which is now no longer a guest room. Yeah, I did this on Friday into over the weekend.
Okay, cool.
And so I used to have a spare bed set up that like nobody ever really used, but I liked having it. Yeah. And like this is taking up too much space. So that's in the basement now. And I moved this. So I'm just trying to get things. So I just like keep moving things and I'm waiting for other furniture. I'm waiting for this and waiting for that. So like it's still in progress. So I just feel like I'm moving things all the time, all day long now. So
it's kind of fun to do, to be honest. Like when we flip the living room around, like it's just fun bullshit to do. So
yeah, I just I want to get I bought a treadmill on Craigslist that was like $1,100 that I got new for $300. So like it's a great deal that I like new in box. So like I want to get that set up. I don't think it's gonna fit up here. I might have to put it downstairs. I'm just trying to make it fit. I don't know how it's gonna work out, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, man.
Oh, and then I watched Reminiscence, which was the HBO Max movie that went away on Sunday night. I watched it on Sunday night. It's not Strange Days. It's way worse than Strange Days. Did you guys watch it or no?
Yeah, no, because I saw it and I was like, this is fucking Strange Days. I love Strange Days. It can only be worse than Strange Days.
It's not at all Strange Days. Like, it's not, it's just memory. Like, Strange Days, this is just like people want to live in their past. It's just a very generic kind of thing. It's an original idea, so I don't mind that, but it was not great. So whenever it comes back to HBO or wherever it winds up, you don't have to watch it.
I know, just because I was like, I mean, we talked about it here. Like, we fucking love Strange Days. That's now my go-to New Year's Eve movie. And so, like, whenever I saw anything that even looked similar to it, I was just like, I don't think you could do better than that, guys. So
I didn't watch the trailer because I don't watch trailers, but
the trailer looked it was like the squid on the head, the fucking memories. There was a girl singing.
It's not even like the squid on the head because the squid, like it's the VR thing. This is just they get into a tank and they relive memories. It's like post-apocalyptic, like climate change, and it's like a mystery. It's like a detective story. Like it's not at all. Structurally or narratively or anything like Strange Days, and like I'm not saying that as like a good or bad thing. It's just like it's just not different. That. So if you were hoping for that, it's not that. And if you were not hoping for that,
it's something
it's still
different.
not that. So yeah.
I have a funny, just like a tiny story that we were watching Seven Worlds, One Planet or whatever, the David Attenborough thing, and like obviously it's all about animals and like. And somebody comment, like one of the reviews of it was like, could use a lot less climate alarmism, and like,
oh well,
it's like, well,
kind of the point.
That's one, that's the point, and two, like, what do you want to be like? All the animals are dying, but it's okay, like what's the alternative to that? Like,
right.
So sorry, you just reminded me of that, like climate alarmism by David Attenborough.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, people, I mean, you can't make people happy. That's what we learned, right? So.
It's just like, did you literally just want videos of animals eating and fucking each other? Because, like, with no commentary at all? Like, I don't know.
I'm sure people do want that.
I think people do want that. I do too.
Whatever. We have a Patreon page, toofast2forever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenen, Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party, Haley Gerbies, Wes Hampton, Christian Larson, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all for supporting the $5 a month level or above. At the end of this episode, we will announce next week's movie and our next Patreon bonus episode, which on that episode, we will announce next year's themes. So if you want to be in the know, toofast2forever.com, get those bonus episodes, please and thank you. We have an email address, family@cageclub.me. No emails today. Our mailbag is, I got to check. There's like, I think there might be a hole in the bottom of the mail carrier's bag. We used to have so many emails. Now we haven't had them for a while. But
our mail's mixed up. We're getting our mail forwarded to a wrong address, maybe.
I guess so. Maybe it's going to 1327. I don't know.
It
but,
is.
Not here. So if you want to email in family@cageclub.me and our store
We're getting a
at
ton of other
toofast2forever.shop.
messages, though. Like,
are we?
I don't know. We got some on Twitter. Like, I mean, people check in. So, like, I hear from people. But...
The evolution of Too Fast, Too Forever. The Evo Lancer of...
Oh, nice one, sir.
Thank you. Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious. Two things. Number one, today as a recording on Tuesday.
Yes.
F9 Blu-ray out now. If you want
have
the
it.
4K. I do have it. Very exciting.
How's the book? Like, how's the packaging look? Normal?
Case is nice. There's no the inside. So sometimes the steel books have like art inside.
Yeah.
It doesn't have it. It's just a plain
steel book,
which is fine, whatever.
Cool.
Actually, I want to see. Hold on. Let me find out. I'm gonna go get it. I don't know what's on the back cover. Hold on. On the front is like a black and white picture of Ramsey and Letty and Tej and Dom and Mia and Jacob and Roman and Han. It says F9 in the director's cut, and then there's a charger below. And on the back, it's just the charger with a big 9. So kind of underwhelming art, to be honest. Then on the disc, there is all the, it's a color picture. It's kind of the big art ciphers on there. I think that the disc itself is the extended cut. And then when you redeem the digital copy, it has both, which is kind of a cool thing.
Okay, so the disc is just the extended cut. Because you had the reverse happen sometimes,
I know,
right?
But this one is billed as F9, the director's cut. Like, as opposed to the Fate of the Furious, which I think was just, like, I don't know why. And I've been annoyed about that on here before, that, like, the disc, which is the, quote-unquote, the best way to watch it, like, the best video, the best picture.
Yeah.
Fate, you have to watch the digital copy version to have the long... I don't know. But this, I believe, is... the full deal,
You'll
real
find
deal.
out in a couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Because on the disc it says unrated or not rated, so it would have said, well, maybe it's both. Because it's PG-13 and not rated, so maybe it's both. I don't know. We'll find out. But pick it up now in stores. F9, the director's cut.
Okay.
One other thing that I've seen, Sung Kang wants them to bring Giselle back, which of course, obviously, duh.
I thought that was like already like a thing. Didn't Michelle Rodriguez say that, or
I think it's
somebody
never
else?
not been a thing. I'm sure that was... So this is from our friends, not really friends, at Screen Rant, where it's probably like he was on a podcast or he did an interview, and they're like, hey, would you like to see Giselle back? It's like, absolutely. Oh my God, Sung Kang wants Giselle back. It's like, yeah, duh.
not the Ludacris is like, do you go to space? And he's like, how did you guys find out?
Right. Yes. Not like that. This is just like oh yeah, we would love to have... I love working with Gal. Okay,
of
cool.
Of course, yeah. Duh.
Any news that you have seen in the last week?
No, I haven't seen any Fast and the Furious news.
Then the final thing to do before we take a break is the Fast and the Furious minute 28. A minute I called the Fonz.
I'm switching lanes. Chevy boys, we like it fast, so I'm dropping it low, heavy on the gas.
Once we get in here, you're on your own.
Look at that one. Hey, where'd you get them cars up out of a cereal box?
Hey, real funny, Fonzie. Ass.
Roberto, Enrique, I need pictures of the drivers, their license plates, their cars, and anything else you can find. ¿Entiendes?
Sí.
¿Entiendes?
Inmediatamente.
Gracias.
Vamos. Let's go. Keep your mouth shut and follow my lead, all right? I got this.
In this minute, Brian, Monica, and Roman pull up to Carter Verone's house. The other drivers make fun of Roman and Brian for their flashy cars. Monica talks to Carter Verone's henchmen, Enrique and Roberto, about race prep. The drivers all walk toward Enrique and Roberto as the minute ends. So I did some digging on some characters here, which we'll get to in a second.
This looks
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Yeah.
Two things of note in this minute, or three, I guess. Monica Fuentes doing a little bit of Spanglish, talking to them in both English and Spanish, which is cool, and taking care of business. Kind of scummy that Roberto checks out her ass as she walks away. I don't know if you noticed that, but like,
no, I didn't.
As she walks away, he like looks down. Kind of scummy. Enrique does not. Enrique is a better man, but Roberto like looks down.
Which one is Roberto,
like,
with the hair or without the hair?
Enrique bald, Roberto hair.
Okay.
And the only other thing is, this is where the name comes from, but Fonzie's name is Corpy, Korpi, and I'll talk about him more in a little bit. he's Fonzie because he looks like Fonzie. He's got the Fonzie hair and the muscle shirt or whatever. But Roman gives Fonzie the thumbs up, like the A. And then Fabio's real name is Darden. But before I get into what these actors are best known for, is there anything here? Because it's again a tough minute maybe for you, but anything you noticed in this minute?
The last car in the line was the Challenger that we see at the end there, the orange one that comes back in the, like, what is it, the tag team race? I forget. Craig Lieberman had, like, a word for it that he used that they were using on set. It was called, like, the circle race or something. I forget what word he used for it, but he described it before. On the front of the Challenger, they have a Year One plate, and Year One is a company that makes muscle car parts that you can buy muscle car parts from. So I guess that Year One must have, gave them the parts, or the cars came from Year One, or something. But much, much, much cooler is Carter Vrone's house. Carter Vrone's house is 100 Southeast 32nd Road at Brickell Avenue in Coconut Grove, Miami Beach, Florida. I have a nice picture of it here. You can see, if you click on the Google Maps there at the top, you can see the beautiful shot of the gate right where Monica Fuentes was. And cool thing in this Google Maps picture, I kind of said it like this, and I'm sure you can see why, is because for some reason there's a cop car parked in front of the house, which I thought was kind of funny.
City of Miami Police Department.
Yep, City of Miami Police Department. If you turn the thing around, you can see, like, if you just do, like, kind of like a 180, you can see where Brian and all the other guys were parked along the street, across the street there.
Yep,
There's some cool facts about that house, too. Oh, I also found the, like, Trulia info of the property, of, like, how much they estimate the property. It's kind of like Zillow, right?
Right.
It's like, how much, like, what does it have? It has 4 bedrooms and 11.5 bathrooms. Oh, and something funny there was you can, like, look at the map. On the map, it has, like, crime around the area, and all of the, like, crime around the area was, like, theft from in a car and Grand Theft Auto. And I was like, how fucking appropriate.
Very appropriate.
Okay, but this house was a 14-acre estate built in 1971, once belonged to Sylvester Stallone, which is pretty cool.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And stands alongside the famous Villa Vizcaya, which is in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Okay.
And the two mansions were once one and the same, and then they split them. So I think that's pretty cool facts about the house of Carter Verone there.
100 Southeast 32nd Road at Brickell Avenue in Coconut Grove.
Yeah, and you could, like, pull up, like, right to the gate. I was like, oh, that's something to keep in mind. And it's kind of, like, right in downtown fucking Miami, so, like, you could just, like, roll up there if you want it. It's like, yeah, it's like right across the bridge, so.
Very cool. Anything else of note in this minute, or are we going to hear about these actors?
I think that is about it. Tell me about the actors, please, sir.
So we got Enrique, who is the bald henchman. Best known for this movie and for 8 episodes in Chicago Fire. The actor's name is Mo Galini. He's a limo driver in Mulholland Drive. He plays the character Hood, H-O-O-D. Like, it's just, like a thug, I guess. In an X-Files episode that I have not gotten to in the rewatch, but it's in the season we're about to start. But of note to you, he plays Tough Guy in Seinfeld's The Mom and Pop Store.
Did you watch that episode?
I did, where the shoes, yes.
Yeah, he gives all the shoes to the guy, and Kramer what's with your ceiling?
Yes.
He fucks up their whole business.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I don't know who Tough Guy is in that, but so here's the thing: a lot of these guys who, even in this movie, Fonzie and Fabio are a little bit bigger. Enrique and Roberto are not tiny parts, but they're all 4 of these dudes are mostly just like either cops or criminals, like either credited or uncredited, usually without character names in a bunch of things. Like they've all acted a ton, they've all worked a ton, but they're generally like he plays cop in this or whatever. So Tough Guy, Hood, whatever. Roberto, who is the guy with the hair. Carter Verone's haired henchman is played by Roberto Sanchez, best known for this movie and for 2 episodes in Queen of the South, which I think is a show that's either currently on or just ended. He played a cop in an episode of Arrested Development that had Charlize in it, so we did that for Watch It Throne.
That's right.
He played a cop in Always Sunny in Mac and Charlie Die Part 2. So, again, just cops in things. Corpy, who is Fonzie, his name is Korpi, Corpy, one of Ryan Rubin's main antagonists. Yes, he's played by John Chenatiempo, who has done stunts on 238 movies. He's acted in 67. He was a cop in True Romance. He was in Lethal Weapon 3. He was in 7 episodes of The Sopranos as Anthony Maffei. He returns as Corpy uncredited in Furious 7.
Yeah, we've seen him before, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's still weird. Like, my brain was just like, is he? Because, like, it's the movie we're watching for this episode, so I was just like, it broke my
blends
brain
together.
for a second.
Yeah,
yes.
and blends together. Yeah.
He was a sergeant in Baywatch, which we covered for Zack Attack. He's also, like, a big guy in Scorsese movies, I think because he's Italian, but he's in, like, I guess Joker's not Scorsese, but it's in that world because of the De Niro thing, but, like, he was in The Irishman, he was in The Departed, he's in a bunch of things just, like, as sort of, like, a tough Italian guy, right?
Yeah.
And he's best known for stunt work on I Am Legend, Bourne Ultimatum, Too Fast, and Deja Vu. Like, these best known are just for, you know, the IMDb listings there.
Yeah.
And then the fourth main guy, the big one here was the Seinfeld thing for Enrique, but Darden, who is Fabio, is played by Eric Etibari. He's best known for The Lincoln Lawyer, Boss Level, Too Fast, and Witchblade. But the cool thing that I found is that Darden and Corpy, aka Fonzie and Fabio, were both in this year's movie Boss Level, which is a Frank Grillo time loop like Groundhog Day action movie.
Okay.
So it's just cool that, you know, Fonzie and Fabio
We're
reunited
still together. Yeah.
20 years later in Boss Level, right?
That's really,
and then
really
I have
cool.
here, and I'm going to look a little bit more in depth in the next minute or two when we actually see them lined up. But I have the names either, I think these are the character names. Maybe Paul Hackett, Max, somebody, Joe, somebody, and Feliz, somebody. I think those are the other drivers here.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. We'll get there when we get there. Because the other thing, like, you know, I have hair blindness, but I was looking at Fabio, Darden, you know, Eric Etibari now is just like a clean-cut dude. I'm just like, that's not the Fabio hair. Like, why would you cut that wonderful hair?
Yeah.
But it was him, so yeah. So I like here that you did the
this is like
a trivia question. I think this was a
pretty
good trivia
rare,
question.
but Joey didn't have a trivia question, and I saw something that I thought was a pretty good trivia question. I want to get your take on it. I don't know if you think it's as good as
I think it's good. I cleaned it up and I did the thing, so hit us with it.
Okay, my trivia question was, what hand gesture does Roman give to Fonzie? Because he gives him like a really goofy like thumbs up. The options are a thumbs up, an index finger point.
Mm-hmm.
I said the finger, and then the OK symbol, like, eh. But I think all of those are good and plausible. You know that, like, he does something. Thumbs up, and also thumbs up kind of is like a context clue, because Fonzie, right?
To use your terms, you can logic your way to that one, right?
You could definitely logic your way to that one. So I thought that it was fair, it was interesting, and for a minute that doesn't really have much other things happening because we're kind of like setting up. Thought it was a good one, so I'm glad you agree, bud.
Yes, I was looking ahead. Like, I think even like by the end of next minute, like we're still like Carter's not going to be talking, so like his real arrival will be in like 2 minutes, I think. Because I was trying to confirm it was Fabio, so I was going ahead a little bit. And like I think the next minute is again them like largely walking toward the house. So next minute, another like just this minute, like this minute, another minute in transition. But you know, we're getting there.
I also
Things
was
are
sad
close.
that. I mean, it makes sense, but I was kind of sad doing research here that, like, I found that, like, Trulia link or whatever, but, like, there's no shots of the property inside. I get it, because it's, like, a gated property. Right. I thought that, like, there would have been, like, some listing, but it was last sold in 99.
So whoever let them use it still owns it, in theory.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. So
if this
not
comes out in
Sylvester
03, they're
Stallone.
shooting in 02 probably, and so, yeah.
I mean, well, at least on paper, right? So, but if it was sold more recently, you'd probably have the like Zillow listing of like what the house looked like and what's inside, and you know, because you have to do all this shit for selling a house now.
Right. Yeah.
So, and we don't have that. So, I'm curious to see what it looks like in the inside. I hope somebody sells it for a ginormous fucking profit soon because it's worth $19 million. And they pay $400,000 a year in property taxes alone. Fuck me.
Ooh.
I know. And if they do, then I would love to see the listing. I'm sure it'll pop up on Screen Rant.
I want Tyrese to buy it.
Tyrese don't got 19. You want Dr. Dre to buy it and Tyrese to leak it on video.
Yeah, sure. That also works.
Just like he'd be like, I'm in fucking Carter Verone's house. Nobody knows Dr. Dre's buying this tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
God damn.
Easy peasy.
Yep, I think that works.
Well, Joe, let's take a break and let's come back and let's talk about Furious 7.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 202, Furious 7. This episode is brought to you by Jacob's Hack. 24 hours filled with programming, tech talks, games, and epic Nerf gun battles. Shout out to Jacob's Hack.
Shout out to Jacob's Hack and welcome back to the show. With us now to talk about Furious 7 in Lap 9, we have a festival programmer, indie producer, and co-host of the Maximum Filled podcast. We have Drea Clark. Hello, Drea.
Hello,
Welcome.
Joes.
Yes.
Joe
Thank you
squared.
so much. Yes. Ooh, I like that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, I'm super excited to be here. You also very nicely let me put in a request for at least a couple of my faves. I'm a big fan of this whole franchise, but I was relieved to get this one especially. So
I'm always happy to oblige because there's sometimes people are like, I'll talk about any of them. I'm like, that doesn't actually help me in terms of figuring ones out. But when people are passionate about certain ones, we want to talk to them about that one because that's the one that matters. I mean, I don't know if you're of the same mind. We're going to find out shortly. But like, we're of the mind that there's no bad Fast and Furious movie. It's just ones that we like less. But if there's one that you're particularly passionate about, let's get into it, right?
Exactly.
I would assume that you've seen all of the movies. Is that correct?
I have. We actually,
Perfect.
on my podcast last summer, when the panty was underway and the theaters were all shut and we were all like, oh, we live in bunkers and the world is terrible. We were trying to figure out something really fun to talk about, but that would also make up for the fact that there were no new releases.
Yeah.
So we did all of the films in 4 weeks. It was a lot, and I saw them all in the theaters, like as they came out.
Okay,
But
very cool.
it's easy to get them conflated and like intermingled anyway. But when you rewatch them all in such a quick span, like they're definitely one just big amorphous movie for me at this point. But,
for sure. And I think that spurt that you guys did when you did them all, I think that sort of made waves in our Twitter universe. And I was like, oh, I need to talk to all of these people because they get it. They understand. They care. There's a lot of people who love this franchise, but there's not a lot of people who like are willing to go deep on all 9, 10, whatever out at the time in the span of 4 weeks and then podcast about it and then like join other people's like it's a special kind of fan. And so you're family already, even though we don't know anything about you really, you're family already.
Thank you. Well, as you know, that's what's most important. So
of course, it's all we've got.
I might share this with you guys, but I don't have friends. I have family.
Oh,
you're right. You're right with us.
You took me for a second there. I was wondering where this was going, but thank you.
So now you said have you seen all of them in theaters going all the way back to the first one?
I feel like I might have seen the first one because I enjoyed Paul Walker a lot from Joyride. I feel like this was post Joyride, and we will definitely talk about him with this movie, but he's always been a really interesting leading man character. No, I mean human, but like he's an interesting leading man because he is like all of the prototypical American, like super handsome, charming, very masculine pursuits, and yet he has like such a unique like lieutenant vibe. Like that guy, to have a guy that handsome and leading man looking who has regularly been cast as a best friend in so many things and is comfortable in that was a really unique attribute. So yeah, I think I even saw the first one. I know I definitely saw From 2 On, but I'm pretty sure I saw the first one in the theater as well.
Well, that's street cred. That is, it's worth its weight in gold here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say fewer than half the people that we talk to. I mean, sometimes we talk to people that are like, I don't really like this franchise. We're like, why are you here? But the people who have seen all of them, I would say it's probably less than maybe like a third of the people. I haven't. I started 5, so like or 6 in theaters, right? So like,
wow.
Yeah, I'm a very late convert. So you have impressive credentials already.
Yeah, I hope it sound more impressive than just like aging myself. Like, ooh, this lady's been going to the motion pictures for a long time.
You've been supporting cinema for 20 years. That's all. It's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'll take that. I'll say my best Fast and Furious screening, I believe it was for Fast 5. But we went, I live in Los Angeles, and we saw it at the Hollywood ArcLight, and it was just opening weekend. It's the best time to go, and it's this full crowd. I went with a big enough group. I had to buy like 8 advance tickets, and I was like, ugh, we had to sit in the 3rd row. Like, it was so close.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm still going to do it because we're going. And then it paid off because the entire effing cast showed up during the closing credits, like unannounced. And they apparently just went around LA that night in like a party van, and we're just going theater to theater and like
that's
hopping
so
up.
cool.
But like Vin Diesel had on like a full like white like head to toe tracksuit, like, and it was so crazy because they didn't have I think like the credits were playing over them, like only us in the front were like, that's the effing cast. Like the people in the back did not. They were like, why are there all these people wandering up in front of the screen? Because the credits were like over their faces. Like it was bonkers. And so in my head, like there's also for sure, like Tyrese has a picture of me screaming in an audience. You know what I'm saying? Because they were like filming the whole thing on their cameras and stuff too. It was so fun and bonkers.
I love that.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
I think I've said on here before, I saw this movie at the South by premiere, like it was a surprise screening sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so Tyrese was there, basically smooth talking the entire crowd. It was wonderful. I love that. But a different thing, and it ties into this movie because it's Kurt Russell. When I saw Bone Tomahawk at Fantastic Fest, the whole cast was supposed to be there, and I was like, I'm going to sit in the front. I want to be as close as I can to Jack from Lost and to Kurt Russell. And then I'm sitting there in the front, and then like word comes down that Kurt had like slipped and fell and hurt himself and wasn't going to be there. And I was like, no. Everybody else was there, but I'm like, I want to see Kurt Russell. Like that's the guy.
Sure. Bone Tomahawk, so good. That's a whole other story. Yeah. And Matthew Fox, Jack from Lost, is fantastic in it. It's maybe the best thing he's ever done.
Joe, have you seen that one or no?
No, I've never seen it.
I think you'd like it. It's a very slow Western that like suddenly becomes a horror movie.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool. I like the sound
really
of that.
Good. Yeah.
I love Westerns, so I'm like drawn to it. But yeah, I will say there is like an extended moment of body horror that I just straight up had to mute because it goes on for so long.
There's one thing in there that has been seared into my brain for the last 6 years. There's one like motion and sound, and I don't know how better to describe it without going into detail, that I'm sure you know it. Everybody who's seen the movie knows what it is, but I'm just like, oh yeah, I never need to see this again, but it's burned into my retinas.
Yeah.
So now, maybe the most difficult question of the night, maybe the easiest question of the night. Can you please give us your rankings of these movies? And please, unless you have some reason why not, please also include Hobbs and Shaw.
Ooh, okay. That's easy. Hobbs and Shaw would... Oh, do you go from bottom up?
Whatever way you want to build more suspense.
I'm gonna do bottom up because that would begin with Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
Sorry, my guys. I obviously, and the caveat with this, because I am a fan of these movies, so I can rank them, and I have, to me, what I think are like the definitive reasons of why my rankings are correct. But also, I really enjoy all these movies, so it's not like, get rid of, kick this guy out of my moving vehicle. The reason Hobbs and Shaw would be lower for me is I think tonally it's one that, although it has some really interesting comedic moments, they are not in line with a lot of what I think of the franchise's comedic moments, which are, primarily just between Tyrese and Ludacris. But there's like a wackiness to it. But for me, the reason that it's lowest is, although I love Jason Statham and I highly enjoyed him paired with The Rock, and I think that there's such a great interplay there and like such beautiful physicality of their breakout scenes and all that, I can't forgive this movie and all of the uses in this for how cavalierly they just forgive Owen Shaw. Like, he, like, fine, we get a fake out later with Han and whatnot, but literally the movie we're going to start with, we meet him because Statham has just killed all of these human people. Yes. So for me, I'm like, no, you get to be the bottom of the list because obviously I have no need to have physics proven correct, but human life, I need to see the reality of that. So
I don't want to jump ahead to the conversation about this movie, but there's something I realized this time. It's sometimes like when you watch a movie for the 12th time, you realize a thing that you've never thought of before. But like toward the end, they have the gearing up montage where Dom's getting ready and Deckard's getting ready, and they're all getting ready for war in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm like, we shouldn't see Deckard getting ready. Like, he's the villain. We shouldn't see there shouldn't be equal weight paid between the two of them unless they're already insinuating you're going to want to care about him because by the end of the next movie, he'll be in the family or something. Like, it feels weird to cast equal weight between our hero and the villain when we're not really following, like, we don't see Deckard go to that warehouse in the middle of nowhere and, like, make his dinner.
Right.
It's weird to me that, like, there's the balance struck there. And it's a strange thing that I don't know if we want to talk about it now or later or never, but I was just like, what? This is strange.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Many series and franchises and singular movies over the years have done, like, a redemption arc for villains, but this one felt sort of egregious and unearned. And then that whole moment, the one you're talking about with this movie of, no, that's not how that works. This isn't like, let's see all our buddies. You're like, no, the villain shows up. We see our guys get ready.
Yes.
But, you want that Statham money in there. You want, you're paying for his mug.
True.
So his mug got to be used.
True. Okay, so we got Hobbs and Shaw in last place. What's right above that?
Right above that would be The Fate of the Furious.
Okay.
A movie I enjoyed. The audacity of the submarine sequence is like, come on. That's just like a dare. Someone dared. They were joking around in pre-pro and we're like, what if we, and they're like, yeah, let's. And I love that. I think that whole exchange is very in Fast and Furious. I actually really liked what Charlize Theron did with this. And, the fact that she was wearing the white lady dreadlocks that Angelina Jolie wore in Gone in 60 Seconds seemed like a nice thematic carryover.
Of course.
But this one, again, the reason that it wouldn't be higher for me is because there's another disconnect in how all these characters are coming together. It's the beginning of the Shaw redemption arc that I don't think is earned. So, like, it would be hypocritical of me to mention that with Hobbs and Shaw and not with Fate of the Furious. What are you going to not love it? Like...
It's hard not to love them. I get it. I understand.
There's also I will remember the other thing with this one is it's the whole thing of like Vin Diesel wanting to stretch his actorial wings but there's something about all of these stories are about Dominic Toretto being the glue between these people, and that this is set up as if he's doing a heel turn, and yet no one actually seems to think he is. Like, there's never a thought in audience or any character's mind that, in fact, he's actually gone rogue or gone bad. They're all probably like, oh, well, I'm sure we're going to find out that this is for something really meaningful. Like, which sort of cuts it off at the knees.
And if you extrapolate it even further, it's like, well, family. Like, it has to be family, right?
Sure.
You might not know what family, but family. So yes, I agree. Fate, then what's next?
Okay, so next would be Too Fast, Too Furious.
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually pretty low.
Yeah, I know. I think it's probably normally lower than I have it, but like I said, I take the Shaw stuff really seriously. Also, I have a kind of soft spot for Too Fast, Too Furious because it is such, like, these movies are fascinating. Like, just to look at all of them in a row and see how each one is taking on how it's succeeding in different box offices, what different markets it's hitting in, like all of the ways that like audience research filters into what these movies are giving you is really interesting. And so there's a constant learning curve, and Too Fast, Too Furious is maybe the steepest, because when you go from the first movie, which is pretty straightforward, to this movie, which is ridiculous, it's like, it is, to me, it's this bold thing of, okay, well, we're not going to make a globally, recognized $1 billion box office franchise about a couple of street racers in Los Angeles. However, can we make this thing international? Can we bring in even more girls' butts? Let's get some funny guys in there. Like, it's, it's really sort of upping the ridiculousness.
They were asking all the hard-hitting questions. Butts, funny guys, Miami, all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Those things that really matter.
Yeah.
It's a family.
Exactly.
To families, yeah.
Exactly. All right. After Too Fast, or before Too Fast, however we want to go, what's next?
Okay, so the next one for me would be Fast and Furious, the fourth
Number 4,
movie.
okay.
I love how these titles are, of course, neither confusing nor set up for easy parody at all. This one I liked, obviously, I like them all. This is, again, it's another sort of, it's another big step forward in like how it's trying to repurpose and retool this franchise all the time. But because this is the one where we have, again, Dom on this like wah mission, like he, like Letty is sort of dead, and so there's, there's a kind of bummer energy to it.
There is,
and
it's
then
down,
yeah, and then I felt like it's also got all those effing tunnels. So even though, sure, because one of the heavy lifting that these movies have to do is constantly like, okay, cool, character growth, sure, tension, okay, dramatic conflict, yeah, now how do we work the cars in? And this movie is like, okay, we have a mountain, sure, we have to cross borders, okay, sure, can we drive through the mountain? So it just it felt sort of more insulated than the other ones, and a lot of like the action, because of that, it felt more of, you guys might be surprised, there's a lot of CGI in these movies, but like
no,
yeah, I know, I hate to be the guest that breaks that to you, but
no way.
Maybe that's
you mean they didn't actually go to space?
Oh no, that happened for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, they definitely
that part's real.
Yeah, that part was for sure real. I guess for me, it didn't feel as action-y in the way, like they were doing what they could with the action, but when you combine that with like wah, like, oh, I'm gonna get this is all for Letty, like, no, settle down.
Yeah, I get it.
So then I have F9 at number 6. Again, love this movie. Of course I love this movie. It was like, I saw it in the theater. It was one of the first things I saw coming out of the panty.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back out of theaters, I'm glad I saw it. So that was good. Like, this one is higher up for me. Like, I get the return of Han, and that the just glib explanation for it, like, oh yeah, that Mr. Nobody. Like, what? That's amazing. Thank you. Don't even bother trying to retrofit this. Like, it made me think of, I don't know if you guys watched the TV show Sherlock, but there's this whole cliffhanger, like one season, where Sherlock seems to jump off a building to his demise, and then he's alive in the season opener the next year.
Okay.
And then they never really answer it. They give like a couple, like, and then they're like, it's okay, you're fine. And you're like, what am I? And that was kind of how I felt about Han. I'm like, I guess I am, because I wanted him back, but what? But yeah, so like they're doing this. This one gets lower down on me because John Cena, who is like a remarkably charming actor, so void of charm or interest in this movie, it's almost shocking. What? That's what you're gonna for villains? Like, anyway, so
well, we always say like Hobbs kind of started in the same arc, right? Like he was like very just stern military guy. It's like I'm hoping, I have optimism for where John Cena's gonna go in this.
For sure. Like, I have hope for him. I loved him in what did he was in that came out right after this, the
Vacation Friends?
No, the oh my god, the Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah.
And he's wonderful in that. And so, yes, no, I have full faith in what's coming up. Also, yes, they went to space. Like, that was set up as a joke at some point. And then it happens. And I like how this movie integrates bringing back our Tokyo Drift guys. Like, there's a lot of fun nods in this. It's just sort of a hodgepodge mess ass.
Yes, there's a lot. Have you seen the director's cut yet?
Oh my god, of F9?
Yeah.
No.
It came out on digital 2 weeks ago. It's on Blu-ray today. It adds like 7 minutes. We spent half an hour a week or two ago breaking everything down. It adds, like, there's a lot of stuff that, like, we're like, is that new or not? But, like, it adds a few scenes. You're like, oh, okay.
That's pretty interesting, yeah.
I would say at some point, either rent it digitally or, if you're into buying the Blu-rays like me, buy that. But there's like 7 minutes, in a 2-hour and 23-minute movie that becomes 2.5 hours. There's some interesting additions already to the F9 canon.
And were they primarily I'm guessing not action, right? Because
no, it's
no,
not.
it's
There's
not.
another scene where Letty and Mia are in Tokyo.
Oh, that makes sense.
A longer scene between Dom and Jacob. There's another scene with Cardi B. There's a couple other scenes that are interesting.
That makes sense too. Sure.
Yeah.
I would like to give a shout out. My friend Dan Casey wrote F9, and he is a filmmaker whose first film I programmed at Slam Dance Film Festival, like,
oh, that's cool.
15, 18, so many years ago. Because as we've already established, I'm hella old, apparently. But the irony of that is his first film and he had directed that as well. Like, he had a title card for it that I remember that said the budget of this film was $577. And I kind of love that then he, however many years later, ended up writing a $1 trillion movie or whatever.
True, yeah. Insane.
It started from the bottom and now we're in space or something.
Yeah, and now he's in
the Drake
space.
lyric, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Drake, we're in the top half now, the best half of the Fast and Furious. Now the Fast and the Fast and Furious. What is your number 5 movie?
Okay, my number 5, and I'm very happy to stand by this, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift.
Okay.
It's so good.
It's so good. It is one of the few, other than the first film, that gives me an actual sense of car culture. That I'm like, oh, I actually believe that all of these people are interested in this very specific mundane thing and that they're spending their time. Oh, and that even, like, this is one of the few films that the driving, it wasn't necessitated to, like, wedge it in midway. Like, ooh, how do we... It was so much more organic because it was actually, that's what these characters are doing. And that's, like, it's built up to a race. It had a much more conventional, like, it's shaped like a sports movie,
Yeah.
And I really like that. You get your fish out of water. You have your 40-year-old teenager, like, immersing himself in this Tokyo subculture. Yeah, it had such, like, strong tropes to it that are so enjoyable when they're done well. And it's also one of the few, because you get a sense that a lot of the race, again, I know it's not all practical, but I did believe, like, oh, this is structured beyond around this concept of drifting, and this is a real thing. And I feel like, oh, we're actually looking at something that exists in this world and building a story around it, versus the rest of these, which, again, a lot of these stories just feel like dares. Like, ooh, I dare you to write something about this in there. And this one felt a lot more like, oh no, this is, if I was going to kind of get into this sort of world and then make stories in it, it would feel more like this.
I like that dare. That's the time you said the dare element thing, because we say a lot that, we think that they somewhat, to a certain extent, like, listen to the fans and hear what they're talking about. Like, okay, they want Han back, they want their space. Like, can we do this in a credible way? But I think it's funnier to be like, yeah, I bet you can't write a screenplay where there's a submarine that has, like, a nuclear submarine that needs to stop with a car. It's like, well, just you wait. Give me 72 hours and I'm going to write that scene for you.
Yeah, no, there are absolutely so many dares throughout this of just, like, I mean, like, the stunts alone. The minute that they started introducing the concept that a vehicle would make a soft landing pad for someone, that's when it was like, oh, we're doing that? Okay. So I see your Letty falls and he catches her with his outswung hand, and I raise you The Rock falls 18 stories and lands on the top of a tank with a woman on top of him. Like, dare. Like...
Well, Drea, as we know, some things you just got to take on faith, Like, sometimes cars are just soft.
Just don't miss.
Yeah, that's so true. Sometimes they really are just so soft.
All right, so you've got 1, 5, 6, and 7. I would say sort of unanimously at the top 4, so you're in good company here. What is your 4th favorite Fast and Furious movie?
My 4th favorite is Fast and Furious 6.
Okay.
Part of it is because of what I just mentioned. There's this great thing of, like, again, they have now just decided on their own set of physics. And so there's a sequence, like, and it's always Letty and Dom. Like, those are the people, like, she has to, like, jump off of, and then he's gonna, like, so he, like, crashes a car so he can be sort of launched from the car to her already falling body because she's going off a like, amazing. And then, of course, they land on another car. But for me, this movie is all about the beautiful, beautiful stupidity of the world's longest runway with the world's biggest plane. And that is why I want to go to movies. Like, because I could see the plane in the trailer, sure. I could be like, oh, I bet I've seen that before. People chase someone down on a runway. Nuh-uh.
Not 20 minutes worth of it.
Exactly. You've not seen it for 20 full a whole act just on this runway, where they had to, like, the amount of every single article afterwards was like, if it was actually a runway that long, it would have been 18 miles or whatever. Yeah. Like, that's just, there were like 15 different story beats happening. We lost Giselle. Do you know what I mean? There's so many just in this one chain. And like, that's, yeah, you gotta be in my top for that. Like,
love it.
That's a good dare. Yeah.
Hard to argue with.
My number 3 is just the OG, the Fast and the Furious.
Cool. Okay.
It holds up. It is, like I've mentioned before, like, it is very obviously, it's tonally different. It's even the world building they're establishing here isn't really consistent through the rest of them. But what you're getting is this sense of priorities of these movies. And there's a lot of unique things there. Like, of course, there's nothing that's ever going to be funnier than saying the word family in relation to Fast and the Furious, because it's like so branded, but that's there from the beginning. And
yeah,
it's built in, and it's a really interesting balance of something that could be so machismo and so dude bro heavy that still has heart to it and some depth and texture. And you have these men who are, you know, carrying different burdens and having like the different weight on them of expectation and of connection, and yet they end up developing a friendship and they end up sharing. There's a lot in here that I think is unique for even for what that genre could have been. And it's just it's nice. It's always going to be funny to me that the cops in it are stationed in this like beautiful modern mansion. They're like, oh, come over to this dining room where we have an de facto like whatever, like war room set up. And you're like, why are you in this fucking house? Like,
yeah,
what is happening?
You know, we've never actually talked about, I mean, we broke the first movie. In addition to going every lap and doing this every lap, we also did the first movie minute by minute, and we didn't really talk about that. I, in my head, always assumed that, like, it was like a rental, that they were only there for a couple weeks, but, like, I never...
Like they repossessed it or something.
Yeah, I never took the next step to explain why they did that, or, like, why they were there at all.
Why'd you set up an office in it?
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, because it's not like anyone's meant to live there. Brian doesn't have the money. Like, it's not a cover for anyone. It's it's like the equivalent of, oh, we got this crack car. Like, it makes zero sense of why they're in this house, other than, we want this movie to be a little sexier and police stations are ugly. You're like,
at least like in the second one, like Carter Verone is a drug lord millionaire, so like they can have a beautiful house there. Here it's just like, oh yeah, they're just in like a $2 or $4 million like bungalow where like actual famous people lived and owned and whatever. And it's just a police house.
But again, it's sort of nodding to where they're going of, no, if we can have a way to make it look better, we will. And don't worry, we won't explain it. Like, it doesn't matter. It just looks better that we're in this house. Yeah. You don't want to see us in an ugly office, do you? No. Enjoy the house.
It's escapism. Yeah. You know, even as grounded as it is, it's still escapism. So, yeah.
I also want to shout out Rick Yoon. I think he's so good in The Fast and the Furious, and I think he dies, right? Like,
it's a real shame. Yeah, it's a real shame he's one of the few definitively dead people, because I would love to have Johnny Tran back.
Right?
I would really love to have him back, yeah.
He was so good. He was like legit menacing. I missed him. Also, like the small stakes of where they end up, like the idea of they're like, ooh, someone's stealing DVDs. Like, it's so great and just stupid. Like, they're like all these high stakes for like $100,000 total worth. You know what? Let's all get 4 cars that can all drive perfectly, and we're gonna pull over these semi trucks so we can steal nonsense. It's like, oh, we got this huge Beanie Baby or Beanie Baby load
collection.
Like, we made it. Like, so silly.
It would be a whole other franchise altogether, which I would adore still.
Now, hey, give him time. Let's not, again, the Dare thing. You think someone hasn't mentioned Beanie Babies to them? Like,
all right, next movie: Beanie Babies, Pogs, or Tamagotchi. Pick any of the three, but you got to put it in there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good dare. That's a Fast and Furious dare. They'll do it. They'll do it.
Okay, top
my
two.
next movie, and again, I know that I'm not alone in these, but I still feel that way. My number 2 is Furious 7.
Yeah.
This evening's movie. It is the most emotional. Once again, rewatching it, bawled the entire last 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's also, I watch a ton of movies and I love big blockbusters. Like, I deal so much with low budget indies that if I can see like just a dumb amount of money on screen, I'm typically happy. But I'm also pretty critical because if you have that many resources and that kind of budget, how dare you drop the ball? So something like Furious 7, that, there's so many moving pieces for these kinds of movies anyway, to retrofit a story this complicated that has like 5 to 10 leading characters essentially, and to lose one of your main actors, not just for this movie, but for the franchise, who's sort of the heart. Like I said, Paul Walker was such a tremendously interesting talent. And also it seemed like it was part of because of the man he was, just a very likable, kind of the glue that binds quietly rather than like leading loudly. And to lose that kind of character, decide what to do. I think that they handled his loss so perfectly by letting Brian remain alive in this universe and to give him this beautiful, heartfelt send-off. But on top of which, I'm sure when we talk about the movie, we can get into, but on top of that, why I think it's so impressive is that they looked at, he'd shot 50% of his scenes, and looked at scenes from previous films, looked at whatever nonsense dares they had that was the script for this one, and were like, how do we jerry-rig this all together? Not just to cobble a performance for him, but to make it make sense. And they do. Like, the fact that he has entire interactions, there's a whole thing, and Tony Jaa, like, there's that whole thing of chasing Tony Jaa, that could have been an Act 1 chase. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could have done, but they make it so like, no, this is a pivotal moment and we need Brian to like do this thing, and the entire mission will fail if he doesn't get that. Like, he gets a hero moment, and they give a lot of those. Anyway, I think they did such an incredible job making that happen. I've seen people incapable of making that happen with all of their actors living through production. So.
Yeah. Very, very true. And then you have the correct, I don't want to say, I don't want to overstate it, but you have the correct number 1.
I think so. And, fine, like, I know it's not maybe the boldest, but I do think it is correct. Like, it's the Fast Five, just Fast Five. Get that article out of here. No the.
Yeah, no the. It's not fast enough if you have the.
No, exactly. Fast Five is, again, you have these fantastic tropes that they love. And so in this, you have like the cop and the family guy. The family guy? Like, but just the idea of like, The Rock and Vin Diesel squaring off in this way. You have that incredible train sequence, and then the call back to like Mark Schultz's character, like weaving through all these things. There's just so much, but then that final set piece with that vault, and that they make, that they have all of the characteristics of like a heist film set up on such a stupidly huge scale. And it's amazing. Like, we're gonna, like, that they do a trade-off, like, like dealers, which cup, which ball or whatever is the cup, which cup is the ball on? I'm like, with a safe that's like knocking down entire bridges, like the entire city of Rio is decimated. Yeah, it's so fun, and it's one of the, you get there and you're like, oh yes, we are making a global franchise now. We are around the world. Now we have hot butts in so many different area codes. Like, it's doing it. It knows what it wants. It gets there, and it's really fun.
So I have a question that we don't normally ask, that Joe and I actually ask each other on air before we see a new movie, see like, when one of these new ones comes out, but I don't think we've ever asked a guest this, but I think you've set it up in a way that I think you'll have an answer. I think you'll know in your heart, yes or no. And I don't know if the answer is yes or no.
Ooh.
With 2 more movies in the main franchise, either 10-1, 10-2, or 10 and 11, however they're going to name them.
Don't you mean Fast 10 Your Seatbelts?
Fast 10 Your Seatbelts, or FX, if you're led to believe, Vin Diesel's son's haircut, right?
Oh, Lord, sure.
Do you think there is a chance that either of these movies will be better than Fast 5?
What a question. I was really wondering where you're going, and I did not know.
I would love, my brand basically is optimism, and I try to be optimistic about everything. I don't think, just with how much is going on, I don't think they can make a better movie than Fast 5. We might, it might be more fun. I don't even know if it's more fun.
No.
Fast 5 is just such a high bar to clear, I feel. And I'm wondering,
do you
think, is 5 going to be forever the high water mark? Or do you think there's a chance that either one of these 2 movies or another spin-off or something, but specifically the next 2, could they surpass 5?
I don't think so, largely because the first one, it's like, we've seen this so many times because we keep getting 2-parter franchise enders.
Yeah.
The first one is going to be setting up so many threads that you're like, ping, 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 ping. So you'll have like, ooh, exciting reveal. Ooh, this. Oh, but because it's setting all of these things up, it has to end in an unsatisfying way, because they want all of those people and more back for the second one. I do think the second one, I have high hope. Again, the fact that they knew, not just to keep Brian alive, but they knew that this audience was going to be down for that. In Furious 7 ends with Dom just gets up and like Irish goodbyes from a beach hangout, to which he's for some reason driven there by himself, although his girlfriend is sitting a foot away.
Yeah.
Or sorry, wife. And so he's like, I'm going to leave. Like, yeah, this is great. So he just like is going to leave. And then they knew, like, you know what? This audience is down for not only this like tear-inducing, beautiful, like music playing, and we're going to get these guys driving. They showed flashback clips of Paul Walker from previous, like they were like, oh, we're just going to pretend this is the CW. Like, strap, get comfortable. We don't care. We're not getting an Oscar. Like, let's just do this. And I think that the second one will lean into that as well. Like Twilight did that when they ended their second part. Like they had full, like they literally did like for like 8 of the main characters. Like they paused and were like, oh, let's just flash back to all of the scenes we saw of them before. And you're like, all right, why not? The Twiheads are going to love this. So I think that one will be emotionally satisfying. And I think the first one will have fun. I would be shocked if there was a way that either of them could be the standalone perfect nugget of deliciousness that Fast 5 is.
Yeah. As much as I would love them to surpass it, I think that we've got our leader on the leaderboard locked in there probably forever. So, yeah. Pole position, to use a car term. Okay. Before we talk about this movie, we have some hard-hitting either-or questions. Are you ready? You can either explain your answer or don't. If you want to keep a little bit of mystery, it's up to you. But I'm going to ask them either-or for whatever, no wrong answers. Whatever first comes to your mind is the right answer. Are you ready for these questions?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm ready.
Are you more of a Brian or a Dom?
Okay. Dom. And by that, do I get to explain?
Yeah, you can if you want.
I just want to say, like, I am more of a Dom.
Yeah.
But that is why I am drawn to the Bryans.
Okay.
It's yin and yang. You need them both. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a guest recently, I think it was either Nico or Kevo, one of them was saying that the reason, which really kind of rocked our world, really, the reason that Dom maybe canonically is so drawn to Brian is because he's trying to replace that Jacob-sized hole in his heart, and he's looking for another guy to fill that, that brother scenario. And so there's something beautiful that's been all the way back that we've retrofitted somehow. So yeah, I see a Dom needs a Brian.
A Dom needs a Brian. Also, I really just like saying I'm Dom on a recorded thing and knowing like what weird fetish shit that's going to end up later. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, I did that.
So I hope your phone's close to you. You're going to get some good ads soon.
Oh, so many good ads. Yeah.
Are you more of a Mia or a Letty?
Letty.
Okay. Dom Letty, I like it. So now, in the first movie, Letty and Brian are doing dishes, and they're talking and they're flirting, and Vince comes in drunk and starts picking on Brian, and Mia asks Vince about the restaurant he wants to take Mia to, that she's going to say, Brian, you can take me there. But she describes it as little red candles, wood tables, the picadillo, food all over the place. So, Drea, if we're like, hey, thank you so much for being on the podcast, you're out in the New York area, we're going to take you out to dinner as a thank you, whatever. It's a great restaurant. It's got these little red candles. It's got these wood tables. It's got food all over the place. When we describe a restaurant as having food all over the place, what does that conjure up in your mind? What does that mean to you?
I'm definitely picturing when I was growing up, we used to go to this restaurant called The Ground Round. And
okay. Yeah.
And the main thing I remember about it, because I was a kid, was they would give you, like when you arrived, instead of like a bread basket or whatever, peanuts in shell.
Yep.
And then you could drop the shells directly on the floor. Because as a kid, I mean, like, what's more exciting? That's just like breaking the rules. So I hear a restaurant with food all over the place, and I just think of those shells littered as far as the eye can see.
So it's not a good thing. It's a bad. Well, it's a good thing, but framed within kind of messiness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you more of a Tej or a Roman?
I'm a Tej.
Okay.
I love a Roman.
So kind of like the Dom and Brian, you're a Tej seeking a Roman.
Yes.
Okay.
In small bites.
Small doses for sure, yeah.
Exactly.
I get it.
Now this one, I think you might have a little bit of hometown bias in you, but are you more of a fan of In-N-Out or Whataburger?
Okay, I've never had a Whataburger.
Okay.
That's a fair
What
answer.
is a Whataburger?
It's a Texas-based, like all over Texas and sort of the greater Texas area, mustard-based burger. They're not really equivalent, but I was a fan of Whataburger and Joe loves In-N-Out, and so it just became a thing on the podcast, and so
interesting.
They're both sort of regional-ish, sort of. But so I guess a better question: are you a fan of In-N-Out?
In-N-Out's okay. I would pick Wendy's. Like if I would need to pick.
Dark Horse.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I will Tokyo drift this answer.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the other thing to keep in mind is that there is always a door number 3, that if you don't like either of these options and there's something else that like makes sense as an answer, by all means go for that.
Okay, good.
So this is a newer question. Would you say you are more fast or furious?
Oh, I'm more furious.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you seem like a delight, but, we still got time in the pod, so I don't know. Maybe we'll get to the furious.
Yeah. That's because you've just let me say everything I want to. Nobody told me my list was wrong. So, the pleasantness just stayed in. It's also mostly, it's less that I have so much fury and more that I have so little fast.
So you're one because of a lack of the other. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now, Drea, we go and we pull off a heist. We rob a bank in Rio. We have $30 million. We split 3 ways. We go to Atlantic City. We go to Las Vegas. We go to Monte Carlo. Wherever we're going to go, we go to the roulette table. Are you betting your money on red or are you betting your money on black?
You couldn't pay me to bet. I can't even watch movies about gambling. For real, it gives me so much tension. Every time I'm like, are you stupid? Are you so stupid? Don't do that. I hate it.
So now on that job, were you in the field with us or are you the man in the chair in HQ? Are you a racer or a designer? Are you doing the work or are you helping from headquarters?
I'm helping from headquarters.
Okay.
I would love to be out there, but as I am a producer, so I've literally been the one who like gets somewhere, does not leave the production office for 18 hours and is like, is everything good? Oh, it's raining? Oh, I didn't know. Like, yeah. I'm definitely in the war room.
Love it. Are you more a fan of American muscle, or imports? What kind of car, if you have to pick between American muscle and imports?
American muscle.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. That's the Dom in me.
It is the Dom in you, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is the word oil 1 syllable or 2?
Oil. Hell, it's 2.
Thank you.
It?
Perfect. I had such a commanding lead here, and then there has been a comeback to end all comebacks, and I am so drastically outmanned here.
Okay.
I think oil is 2 as well. I think technically it's 1.5, but I think my correct answer is 2, so I appreciate you there. Thank you.
Okay.
Are you more a fan of Corona or Belgian ale?
I hate beer.
Okay.
It's so gross. Oh, and no, neither of you get those, huh? I'm really denying people points when I go my own route. Oh
no, but that's fine.
That.
I want you to
Totally
be true to
okay.
yourself.
Yeah, be true to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beer is disgusting, and if you want to, I think it's a dare every time someone drinks it.
Okay.
Speaking of dares, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Bold statement, but I respect it. Okay, now to continue the question sort of about this movie. On that job, you're the producer, you're the chair, but we're like, Drea, we need your help. We need you to come out here, and you come out, and we're like, we need you to shine bright like only you and Roman do. We need you to sing a song karaoke style to this room to distract the room. We need you to do this so that we can go in the other room and do the other thing. What song are you singing karaoke style to distract the room?
Again, this is going to age me, but please know this is still decades before me. It'd be Me and Bobby McGee by Janis Joplin.
Okay.
And I want you to know I have both the range and the strength for that song. I killed that song. Yeah.
We always get like great and different answers to this. Like everybody has like one that's their go-to. They're like that one.
We've gotten close to 40 songs and there's no repeats.
Yep,
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. All right. So similarly to the food all over the place, another thing that we're trying to suss out from this movie, if we describe someone as having no knees, for instance, no knees Denise, the only thing I've seen you take down is no knees Denise at prom. What does that mean to you? If a person is described as having no knees, what does that mean?
No knees Denise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I may be vulgar.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm going to tell you, I've never thought of this before, but on the spot.
Well, that's the correct thing. You shouldn't think of this before.
I shouldn't. No. Throwaway one-liner.
Our brains are broken, and we have explored this to an extent that is unhealthy.
But I was going to say that this is certainly the kind of thing I would think about a lot more than warranted. My adult reaction, in especially if I think of the context, would be Denise does not get on her knees for a man, and therefore she's no knees Denise.
Fascinating. All right. Do you remember that line from this movie or no? Because it's normal to not.
No. It sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell you which movie it's from. I'd be like,
it's from this one. They're around the table and Roman's complaining that he's the one who has to do all the work all the time.
Leadership. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And they're like, I took I took the plane out of the sky, and Brian says the only thing I've ever seen take down is no knees Denise. And so he says, really, Brian? You could, like, we don't know. It's just that line.
Ludacris laughs, and it looks pretty genuine. Like, I was watching it again this time, and I was like, he got a reaction out of Ludacris that, like, made it seem like that might not have been planned, or Ludacris at least knows who Denise is.
Because the baby oil big ass forehead line was a genuine Ludacris laugh, so we know what a genuine on film Ludacris laugh looks like, right? So
if I may, I've actually worked with Mr. Chris Bridges.
Oh, have you?
Oh,
he is a delightful, wonderful human.
I can imagine
and
that.
I'm so happy for him for all of this. But yes, that was very much. I've driven him around in a minivan in Vegas.
Oh, fun! Yeah. Was he Ludacris or was he Tej from Fast and Furious?
Or was he just Chris?
No, I called him Chris. I worked on a reality show that almost no one has seen called Battleground Earth: Ludacris versus Tommy Lee, and it was it was meant to be it was comprised of all these ecological challenges, but basically we went on the road with both of them for like 3 or 4 months, and they had their entourages, and then each city we went to, they did a different like ecological challenge or whatever, and then it all culminated with this concert at the Greek in LA, and so the winner got to headline. Yeah, so it was super funny and super hard, and we all got very close because of it, and so you're literally just like traveling. But he is a very, very smart man and a very good businessman and a very just lovely, professional, wonderful human.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Thanks for the confirmation. Like, it's always good to hear that, like, you're not like, oh, that guy's this big shithead, and you're like, oh.
Those are normally the reports you get. No,
yeah. This is great.
I will name drop my slight Luda knowledge only because people should know he is as wonderful as you hope he is.
I love it. Okay, a few more that we can talk about. Furious 7.
Yes.
This also from this movie. Knowing you're safe either way.
Yes.
Would you rather drive a car into a plane as it's taking off, or drive a car out of a plane and parachute safely to the ground? Which of those thrills is more your speed? Into a plane, out of a plane, you're safe either way.
Oh, out of a plane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems cool. It seems more fun.
With a parachute on a car? That seems pretty fun to me.
Yeah.
Would you rather die in a fiery explosion or by drowning in icy water?
Oh, man. Fiery explosion, drowning in icy water.
Okay.
Yeah.
No context. Revenge of the Nerds or The Dark Knight?
The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Because it's less horrifying than Revenge of the Nerds, and that we let those jack-offs seem like good guys for so long.
Yep.
Yep. Good yeps.
Are you more of a Hobbs or a Shaw?
I am more of a Hobbs because, as you know, Shaw. I mean, I've mentioned my Shaw.
You're not a
thoughts.
fan, yeah.
Yeah.
Now the final question here, and this is a brand new one today because we had another one for F9 that I'm not thrilled with. I think it's too niche, but this is one that you brought up before. I think I'm going to gauge based on the guest. Are you more a fan of Charlize Theron's hair in Fate or F9? The braids or the Karen cut?
F9 is not a Karen cut. It is the simple Jack cut from Tropic Thunder.
That's true.
Okay.
And I am absolutely more a fan of that.
Simple Jack F9. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the final question. Do you have a favorite character in the franchise? Is it Brian?
Do I have a favorite character?
I mean, it's clearly not Shaw. We know it's not Shaw.
Well, and it's hard because there's plenty of stuff I would like about Shaw if I could just not know so many of the other things. Oh, I'm sorry. Of course I have a favorite character, and it's Han.
Yeah.
I love Han.
He's such a great character.
If I could make out with any of them, it would be Han. If I could just be platonic roommates, it would be Han. Like, he just seems like the best, coolest dude.
Do you think he'd be a good roommate, though?
Yeah.
Do you think he's messy, or do you think he's clean?
I think he's messy.
No. He's not. Listen, that guy's always snacking, but you never once see a wrapper around
That's
him.
True.
The Japanese fundamentals of like throwing his stuff away. Spent a lot of time there. You're right.
And we know from F9 that Roman is messy because he has candy bar wrappers all over the car, right? So like that's a snacker that doesn't clean up after himself. But
Roman
Han,
would be a terrible roommate.
Yeah.
For
many reasons.
And you know that. Yes. Yeah. No, Han would be. He's the best. I love Han so much.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's hard to argue with. It's definite. It's just
he's also the only dude on those that's had a romantic storyline that I believed.
Sure.
Like, I enjoy the other ones, but I'm like, you guys are not hot for each other in any way, shape, or form. And Han, I'm like, oh, he loves her. Oh, she loves him.
Our dream is to have a trilogy, a spin-off trilogy of films between 5 and 6, where it's just them on adventures.
Yeah, him and the girl.
Him and Giselle, yeah. Him and Wonder Woman, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just said the girl, yeah. You guys, how much money have they offered her, like, over the years?
I don't know.
Not as much as Wonder Woman did.
She's got to come back.
They've offered her more.
Really?
I guarantee it. Yeah. She's like, no. Like, for her to come back for, like, the final one in some small way, I can't even tell. They'd need to give her a country or something.
Well, I think, so we talked about this a couple episodes ago about, because it's not just the money. I think my idea is that if they make one of these movies kind of about her, like if they make her the narrative momentum and the weight she gets to actually flex her acting muscles, I think that might be more appealing than the country. Maybe not. I think the country would be kind of cool.
Yeah, but they would need, if I may say, they need a lot more runway than they have right now, you know?
Yes, I would agree.
That's not going to happen with the 2 movies they have.
So now to kick off the conversation about Furious 7, there's a question we're asking every time. And there's no wrong answer here. It's, again, just sort of creative. But we didn't know until this new movie that Dom had a brother in John Cena and Jacob, that he's been around since the beginning. In the world of this franchise, while this movie is going on, where do you think Jacob is? Is he with them in Los Angeles? Is he with them, wherever they're parachuting out of planes? Like, where is Jacob at this time? What do you think he's doing? Because we eventually get to the point where he confronts Dom in F9, but at this point, he could kind of be anywhere. So where do you think Jacob is in the time of this movie?
I think that he's in another country entirely.
Okay.
I think he's been either studiously avoiding the same area or, just very intentionally keeping to his own, but like knowing what's going on.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. And he's masterminding whatever nonsense operations that he's doing. You know, there's something fun thinking about that is as just gargantuan and stupid as what we're watching in these movies, that's just like one element of gargantuan and stupid in this world is kind of delightful. Like, oh, you should see what's happening over in Ireland. Like,
yeah,
you don't even know. Yeah.
So now, do you think at this time, is he still working for Mr. Nobody, or has he severed ties with Mr. Nobody? Because we know that he at some point was working for him and then now is no longer. He's on his own now. Do you think he's still with Mr. Nobody, or is he out on his own already?
No, I think by this one, he is out on his own already.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one's kind of hard to place, and I was thinking about it as I was watching this, because in this one, we catch up to 6. I mean, well, we catch up to 3, right?
Yes, yeah, we're past 3 now, yes.
We get the flashback to Tokyo Drift, and we now know from 9 that an agent went rogue during Tokyo Drift. That's why Han died. So Jacob had to have been with Mr. Nobody before that, but we can say that he definitely wasn't with Mr. Nobody during this. Because
I think so, yeah.
That was the crux, right?
Yeah.
So he has to be very, very close in Tokyo. I don't know if he's watching... I feel like he just got to be plotting in the background somewhere. But, like, that, I was piecing it into the timeline that, like, we know that Mr. Nobody knew Jacob here, then also was broken up with him by the time they meet Sean. Because, like, that was after Han died. So, it's kind of... I think you got to be plotting. But, okay, as I was watching this, just, like, as, like, a mini tangent, we know that Jason Statham, like... you know, kills Han with the car, whatever, car flips. We never really know where the box comes from, and I was thinking, like, what if the box was from Jacob, because he had, like, watched what happened, and Jacob sent the explosive box to, like, blow up his old house?
Interesting.
Wait, so you think that it wasn't from Shaw?
Because Shaw does call him when it explodes. That'd be a
but
very
we
weird...
don't we see him like do this very like boink, like he pokes his phone, like I'd blow you up now.
But he could just be hanging up. And like, what are the chances that like he knew that like Dom would receive the box as he kills Han? Like that's also very weirdly coincidental, right? Like how would he be like, okay, FedEx priority overnight, but like I'll kill him at like 11 a.m.
But to me he like. I don't know. You're right.
He's like walking out of the car, and I could see him calling him, being like, "I killed your friend," and the box being set. Like it seems just because like the way the movie is shot and like the timing of it that like he sent the box, but like we never see the boxes from him or have him say it's from him.
That's true. I mean, this is all the things that like make all the sense in the world and also make no sense at all. So I think that's exactly Fast and Furious.
Well, you could also make an argument that like Jason Statham's whole thing is he's got friends. Maybe Cena is one of his friends. Like his whole thing is, you know, a mercenary.
We haven't seen them
angle.
Together yet. You're
so
right.
So maybe that's who delivered it, and he's like, "Oh, I know exactly where he is." And then he could have also, at that point, then if he's close enough to be like, "Oh yeah, he's home right now. You should call him," and then do a fancy boink.
So maybe he's across. He's in the house across the street that Joe and
our
I
house,
want to rent.
Our dream house.
Yes, that we want to wake up each morning and look out and see 1327.
I don't want the Toretto house. I want the house across the street with the windows. So like when I look out of my bedroom window, just see the house.
So Jacob is there spying on them. It's like, okay, now we detonate. Okay, I like that. So I'm of the mind. So there's a deleted scene, Drea, in F9, or an extended scene where they're in that like. The foreign dignitary thing, wherever, the consulate
or whatever. It's not, maybe it's not the whatever. Yeah.
Yes, but the foreign whatever where Dom pulls a gun on Jacob, gets arrested, Cardi B bails him out. But there's a line in there that Jacob says, "What do you think happened every time you took somebody down? Their territory just stayed crime free. The Trans, Braga, the Shaws cipher. You paved the way for me." So I think he sees this as an opportunity to take London. Owen Shaw is in the hospital. Deckard is avenging his brother. It's easy to believe that Queenie is in jail. So there's an emptiness in the London crime ring, and Jacob's like, this is my moment. So I think
that's a really good
plot. I'll buy that. That is a really good idea. In my head, like he was definitely like keeping tabs, but trying to maintain like the idea that Dom wouldn't have sensed him or known, like that implies some kind of machination. But I do really like the idea of Jacob secretly being involved in all of these, and you could easily make that case.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to know, like, when he would have timed it to, like, take out Braga or the trans, because it could be any time, right? But, like, here it's like, no, there is a real power vacuum right now in London. Let me go do that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stand by that. Cool.
So now, Drea, the floor is yours. Furious 7, your second favorite movie. Favorite moments, least favorite moments, things that you love, things that you hate, questions you have, wherever you want to begin, take it away. What do you want to talk about with Furious 7?
Oh my gosh.
No hyperventilating. It's nothing but time, etc., etc.
You know, I love the idea. There's just so much in this. This is an ensemble where they've taken time to figure out, you know, each of them has somewhat of an arc or something to prove, some more minor than others, but like all of these characters get a hero moment. The idea that even that thing that we alluded to earlier, the like Roman gets a chance to shine when they're in Dubai, and he genuinely loves that. And they're like, yeah, he's like, yeah, lights on me. Let's do this. I'm at a daytime party. Why not? And so it's consistent so that each of them gets something to do and a moment to be special. And that also they're paying attention to a lot of interpersonal stuff, which I really enjoy. All of the things, it's really small, but the idea, like, again, Letty and Dom are straight up the most neutered couple you've ever seen in any, like, it is.
Have you seen the short film that Vin Diesel directed,
I
Los
have not.
Bandoleros?
No, I haven't.
They're sexy together in a way in that is almost completely removed from most of the other movies. There's some sexiness in the first one where he like picks her up by the ass and they go make out on the couch, but like it's largely asexual. But like Los Bandoleros is like, we don't see it, but it's like they're on a fuck fest
heavy tension
in the Dominican, and it's something all.
Was
together.
that made when they were actually dating? Because I've always wondered.
I don't know when that was. Yeah.
Vin has such control over these, like such creative control.
Yeah.
And it would not surprise me if he's like, here's the thing. My wife does not want me holding hands with Michelle, making out with Michelle. I can't have any scenes in bed with Michelle. And so I won't. But I also want everyone to know this is a love story for the ages. So dare. So again, they like lay down another thing. So Dom and Letty are this fascinatingly neutered couple, but then also in this have this very like, there is zero need to have woven through this whole backstory of, you know, she's of course, you guys has amnesia, and you know, and he is a man who's nothing but has a deep love of tradition and memory, and all of those things no longer exist in her. They recreate the entirety of Race Wars just so he can be like, no, we started this. Like, so you get all that, but the idea that you keep getting these sort of warm, intimate flashes in this reveal that they were secretly married and their love means so much. It's such a ridiculous thing to include, and I love that they did. And I feel like there's so many things like that. Like, they care about these characters. There's an earnestness to these movies that really comes across in this. And like, you know, the idea too of the scenes with Mia and Brian, and of which we know she mostly shot green screen with like his brothers.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Like all of this stuff and how heartbreaking that is. But even that, like, it was this very important thing that what we were getting from all of these people and all of these reveals was their goodness and their earnestness. And that even comes across, like, you know, your whole reveal of what the hacker whose pronouns we have carefully avoided this whole time is a woman. Women know computers. And then she's not only a woman, she's like stunning. And then there's like a 5-minute shot on her bikinied ass coming out of the ocean. Like, that they do all that, and yet you're still like, you know, this objectification seems friendly. Like, there's an attention to all of these things that seems good-hearted in a way, and
there's something equally disgusting and endearing about them calling dibs on her. It's like, this is gross and objectifying, but like, they're kind of puppy dogs about it. Like, it's in a way that is both like gross, it's but soft. Also kind of okay. Like, it's not good. Like, I wouldn't say it's okay, but like, it's not as bad as it could be.
Oh, fully. That's what I mean. Like, these movies, and it's continued from the beginning. There could be such a dude bro energy to these. And there's not, because the reality is, like, that woman outranks both those guys so much. Like, she's
Yes.
well above their weight class. So,
Mhm.
like, it is, like, clearly going to be in her hands should she choose either of them. And I feel like even after that dibs moment, someone else is like, haha, you don't call dibs on a woman like that. Like,
Right.
you don't call dibs on a woman, full stop, but also you guys are bonkers. And so that it sets up this genial thing, and we're like, no, she's safe with them, and I'm not worried about any of those dudes being inappropriate with her, and that counts for something. I mentioned earlier, like, I love Tony Jaa. I'm such a Tony Jaa fan. I definitely saw Muay Thai fighter in the theater, like, several times. He's so good, and there's so many people in these, and almost no one gets used as much as you'd want. But Tony Jaa, like, it's that thing of, oh, we have this movie, and here it's, you know, here, what do we have? What can we do? Oh, I have Tony Jaa, who's, like, incredibly nimble and does this kind of fighting that works really well in confined spaces, and that we're going to set this up for him to have 2 fight scenes in different set pieces. They're both going to be with Brian. So, like, Paul Walker gets these moments as if there's any world where sweet, slow American Paul Walker could keep up with Tony faster than the speed of light.
I made a note of that this time for the first time, that I wrote down in my notes, I'm sorry, but there's no way that Brian wins that fight. Like, I understand that, like, it's a hero moment, it's a payback, like, it's the too slow because he did the thing before, but, like, even with, like, cheating with, by, like, not using his fist and, like, finding, like, environmental stuff, like, there's no way that Brian wins that fight.
No, but again, we've already know in this movie, like I said, in the first 5 minutes, when The Rock falls however many stories onto, like, the top of a huge, enormous armored truck or something, blocking the fall of the woman on top of him, and all he does is, like, break a leg and an arm that are also going to be healed in time for him to rip off the entire shooting gun thing, whatever that thing is, like, off the tank.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm like, no, don't even shush. Don't even worry about science. Like, none of this stuff's going to make sense. Just enjoy the fact that The Rock is going to rip this huge, enormous thing that's not meant to be carried by a human man.
No.
Like, it's so silly, but it's so good. And yeah, and so, like, Tony Jaa fighting Paul Walker is the same thing. Like, no. Like, it makes sense when that fight ends with Tony Jaa sitting on Paul Walker as they slide down something. That tracks.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Yes, that seems about what they can both handle in that scenario. But it does, like, you get all these beautiful uses of, like, oh, I have Tony Jaa, how do I want to shoot him? And it's like, oh, give him small things to jump through and whatever. And they do. I like that. I think the person that does, for all the things I love, I wish my boy Jimon Hansu had a little more to chew. He's our bad guy. And there's just the stupid tech MacGuffin of, like, God's Eye. And I'm like, is this like the knock list from the first Mission Impossible somehow? It's just like, okay, this thing we need in life's going to be terrible if it gets,
and
okay.
he really gets the short end of the stick here because, like, you think of this movie as, like, Deckard as the villain, and he's also the other villain who, like, kind of teams up with Deckard, but, like, not really, like, people don't remember, you remember him, but, like, this is not his movie. This is a Dom versus Deckard, brother versus whatever, right? Like, this is, we did him dirty a little bit.
Yeah. So that's the big thing, like you said, in this one, because we've already moved past, like, Dom loves squaring off against a bad guy, and Jason Statham actually makes him look tall. Like, it's just this exciting world for him. Yeah. And Jason Statham's a wonderful villain in this. Like, he starts off so terribly. That opening shot, he's in this hotel talking to his, like, unconscious brother, and then the pull-out reveal that, oh, you've killed everyone on your way in. Or I said hotel, I meant hospital. But, like, you've killed everyone into the hospital.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Like, you're a horrifying sociopath. And so that's fun. And then blending that with, sure, and you also love cars. Well, that helps because you're about to meet a real car guy. That they keep having these amazing, like, you think this is a street fight? And they're, like, pulling, like, telephone poles out of the ground and shit. Like, it's so funny and so stupid. And I feel like, although they're deadly serious because they take it seriously and you want them to, it seems like so much fun. Like, okay, so for this one, we're going to be on a rooftop. Somebody's going to blow, and I'm going to stomp, and the whole roof's going to crack right where I want it to. Like, it's so silly and wonderful. And they get all around the world, too. I really love, the more they travel, the happier I am. Not for the carbon footprint elements of it, but like, oh my God, I'm sorry. First off, how dare I? We have been talking for over an hour, and I have not mentioned them leaping a car twice through towers.
Yes.
Yep.
You guys, how dare I
3 honorable.
Rip my qualifications away. Like, that is the funniest and best thing. Like, first off, I was like, I knew something was up because I'm like, why is this party in daylight hours? What about this? Like, you always want to shoot at night. Everything looks better at night. You shoot at night, you wet the streets. This is for anything. That's for a Hardee's commercial. Like, shoot at night, wet the streets, it looks better. I'm like,
well,
why?
Actually, do they explain that away? Is it like they're having a party for the longest day of the year? Is that the theme of this party?
That's what they set it up. But like, even then, you're like, cool, so what? It still makes no sense. And Roman's like, they party like this every day. And I'm like, who wants to be day drunk every day? No, thank you.
Me.
Well, yeah,
you.
Yeah, sorry.
But this one, I was like, why are they? I truly was wondering the setup. Oh my God, I'm so glad that I remembered this whole sequence because it's reminding me my other favorite thing about this movie, of which I have so many favorite things. When you ask yourself, is there a woman who can give me a more wooden performance than Gina Carano? And then Ronda Rousey is like, hold this plank of wood. I can do it. Like, she is so amazingly bad. Like, she's wonderful. Great. Let her punch whatever she wants. She has like 4 lines and none of them sound like human language.
Yeah, the parties bore me to death is the worst line in any of these. Like, it's
no. This one.
No, so okay, I have a defense.
The ghost girl thing in this one, and then I heard like this was the first time I was really latching onto it, and they're like ghost girl, because it like
it echoes. Yeah,
yeah. She like starts to spin and get like dizzy about it, and they like keep. I was like, who thought that was a good line? And then was like, the sound editor was like, yeah, let's reverberate that.
Yeah, it is. I guess, I will not defend her as a person or her, vaccination or whatever beliefs, Gina Carano, but I will defend her performance in 6. I cannot defend Ronda Rousey in this or Iggy Azalea in this. I do. So there's another thing in this movie, a line reading that, Joe, you have picked on a lot, which is at the end, Brian yelling to Dom to breathe. I will say, though, I have a defense of it this time that I've never heard before. I think Brian, this entire movie, is in, like, EMT mode. Because, like, when Ramsey is, all, like, messed up, he's like, she's in a state of panic, and he, like, talks her off the ledge, and then when she comes to after they crash...
Yeah, he checks to see if she has a concussion.
Yeah, like, he's being... like a paramedic in this movie. Like, it doesn't explain why, but
no,
like
he
at
would,
the end,
as a former officer, he would be trained in basic medical,
right? So I think that whole breathing at the end is that he's trying to do his job as like it might be over the top or whatever, but I got a sense that he was doing paramedic EMT stuff in this for the like in a way that
how many
was
paramedics
genuine.
just yell at their fucking patients though?
Maybe you're not around enough paramedics.
Well, it's the man he loves and his girlfriend's brother, and it's, they just escaped an action scene. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
He's a little flustered.
Yeah.
That's true.
The entire sequence in Abu Dhabi makes me happy. There's the dumb beach moment. Again, when I say the words dumb and stupid, every time that's a compliment.
They're endearing.
I want to stress that. Like, please be so stupid, movies. They're at the beach, sure. And then they like, oh, we got a guy. We're going to get into the hottest party in the day. Like, so they go to this party. And as much as Ronda Rousey's like such a terrible actress, I still was like, yes, thank you. Please dress up Letty to fight. Why not?
Yes,
like, I don't want to see the same dirty jean, too short tank. Like, do it. And then to escalate from there to not only do Dom and Brian go to get the car, they walk in and Dom is immediately like, well, obviously part of the plan is I'm just going to be a human jack. And he picks up the car. And I was like, really? Like, all your contacts, all your whatever, you couldn't figure out like a jack that fit in your like leg pant or what? Okay, pick up the car, guy. And that they're like tooling around, and that whole thing just made me so happy. Like, yes, he's gonna pick up the car. Oh, what? They're gonna drive out? Yeah. Oh, they're gonna drive out of this building. oh, there's no brakes. They're going to also have to drive out of the next building. Yes. And that's why it's during the day, because those shots are worthless at night. Like, we don't got time for a nighttime party. Let's get these people some champagne at noon so we can light this proper.
It's beautiful.
When they were dressed up in this one, this watch through, I was getting like really big James Bond vibes.
Sure.
Like, I hadn't really thought of that before, but, like, you know, we're always like, oh, you know, like, this one was clearly influenced by whatever, but, like, this whole party sequence and, like, getting something in a party and being kind of in tuxedos and Letty being in a dress, I was just like, this was the I dare you to write a James Bond scene into these Fast and Furious movies, and this is what you get.
And people love that. Like, you know, when else are we going to get to see these people dressed up?
Right? Yeah.
It's got to be for some very specific, oh, we got to do this for this heist. Even all the other stuff they do, they're still like, oh, it's okay if we dress like very like wealthy dirtbags.
And they call it out too. They're like, I can get you an invite, but you can't be looking like that. And then they do the slow-mo walk down the stairs.
That slow-mo walk was good enough that it almost made up for the fact that I did not get a montage of them trying on evening wear.
There's a deleted scene that they're kind of like
where Dom brings Ramsey her dress, right? Yes.
So it's not like they're like trying it on, but and like he says something weird. He delivers a line weird. I remember he mumbles something that we couldn't.
What?
Dom says she tries to escape, and that's when she's worried, I think, about her implications of God's eye and stuff like that, about how it was the word of the hour. She says, God's eye was a dare to myself, prove how good it was. I knew it was dangerous. I had to finish it. It was brilliant. I knew I should have destroyed it. But then there's another scene where, like, after they're all dressed up, they say, well, this is the most mafia I've seen this crew look. Roman, I'll tell you that's a good thing.
Yeah, but I remember, like, they're kind of, like, in a dressing room, and it's, like, Ramsey and Dom.
They're in her hotel room, yeah.
No, I want Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun playing.
Okay, yeah.
I want them all trying on like, oh, and this hat? No, you're crazy.
Goofy song, three-sided mirror. They all just, like, come out and jump. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Say yes to the dress style kind of situation.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So those are definitely all highlights for me, though.
For sure. Is there anything about this that you don't, like, anything that you don't love about Furious 7? Or is it just that Fast 5 is, as we talked about before, sort of like untouchable? Like it's smaller and it's more compact and whatever.
I think it's the smaller, more compact. There's also the sense like I couldn't tell you which of these threads I would have either tightened or removed, but it felt like there was like one. It's the whole idea like of Jimon Hansu being this like bad guy that it's fine when we're like, no, these stories are all a dare and nothing really means anything. But for him, I'm like, what? He's just some anonymous bad guy who knows about this thing and wants it. And so like there's no real stakes other than, like there's no texture to those. There's no backstory. And I get that like not everyone would be woven in, and that's why they keep taking villains and like turning them into good guys, because they love weaving those things in. But that just felt a little inert to me. Like something about the whole like God's eye, and then we're doing this, because it is that thing. Like I feel for the most part, it does a really good job of giving them all something to do. And like that whole final sequence, right? They are sent and like, oh, you three cars are driving around and this woman is for sure going to leap back and forth through doors at 80 miles per hour. There, that's your job. And then, like they each have tasks, and Brian has his whole, you have to get the satellite up at, like they all have things, but because of that, when you get to the final thing, I'm like, okay, I didn't notice or care. Like the fact that Jimon Hansu dies and like the whole thing blows up and you're like, yeah, okay. Like it doesn't, like, okay, that doesn't matter. It's because you put all of your emotional weight into Shaw. So it's, you can't spreading them. I think sometimes when you divide villains up too much, it doesn't give you a good focus.
Yeah, because I feel like the emotional beats here are Dom versus Deckard, obviously. So I'm trying to think, if you remove Mozi Jaconda, you also need to remove Ramsey, which is unfortunate. And then, like you were saying, I think nobody else has anything to do. It's really just Dom against Deckard.
For me, honestly, personally, my tweak of it would have been Dom and Shaw. Of course, they should be like, butting up. Those are the two guys against each other. When we first see him, he's confronting The Rock, and they have the exact same dynamic. I'd rather have The Rock be the one who knows Jimon Hansu's character, because The Rock is literally a trained in espionage and global whatever. And so when he shoots the final thing and gets the grenades, then that would have been, redeeming in some kind of way. Instead, does he even really know who he's shooting at? He's like, oh, that's the helicopter. That must be the bad guy. Like,
because the other thing that's weird is that in like some of these movies, everyone everywhere they go knows Dom. They're like, oh, that's Dominic Toretto, blah blah blah, whatever. But then here, Mosey Jaconda's like, who is this man that dares stand up to me? Just like, I don't like. How do you not know? Because like everybody else seems to know. So there's a weird disconnect there too. So I think that'd be interesting. But I guess what was The Rock shooting, like the Scorpion King or whatever? He was shooting some movie that he couldn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
no, but they ended up pushing it. He wasn't even supposed to be able to do this at all. And then it got delayed so much, right? And then he was able to do it. Like,
so now here's a question about that, not about this movie, but the reports and the trades. The Rock has said, I'm not coming back to the franchise. Joe and I think that's wrestling promotion. That's just bluster. That like they're like he's never coming back, and then
because he has to, right?
He has to. Is there any version of the world where he does not come back?
I do. I think there's a version he doesn't come back, largely because, wrestling aside, the absolute insult of, the last thing that Vin Diesel really said about this was essentially he set up all of their animosity to pull a performance out of The Rock, as if The Rock was such a bad, like, there's
his Fellini comment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a level of insult to that's like so much bigger than I could see him.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. It's like he sucked so bad. I needed to try this to make it.
I still think that's part of the whole thing, though. Like, I think that's part of this marketing. But I also like if that's not like, that's crazy.
I guess it's because like he was doing press for the Jungle Cruise when that came out, and he and Emily Blunt, there was all this stuff where she was like, and she's like a respected Academy Award nominated, like, do you know what I mean? This incredible actress.
Yeah.
And he just in the saving face of, because people kept bringing it up. And so I just saw like one interview, but in a whole day of junkets, he probably had that brought up 1,000 times.
That's so
and
annoying,
he's in front of this like trained actress that he's friends with and respects. And so at that point, it's like, and there's the thing of, sure, there's tons of wrestling, like the market, but like if this is, sure, maybe The Rock, would Dwayne Johnson go back for more for that? Do you know what I mean?
It's a very good point. Okay, it's a bummer, but I get it. So,
but who knows? I can also see Vin as someone who really likes being a producer, has made a lot of great calls on these in terms of knowing his audience, and I do think if he ass kissed enough after the 9th one, or sorry, the 10th, the first part, then it could be possible. But it would entirely, he would have to be a producer and not be Vin Diesel's star, because the producer would set it up like, listen, man, if you don't come back for the final one, the fans, like he'd have to set it up for The Rock to look so heroic, magnanimous by doing that, But who knows if he could swallow his own ego enough to do it. So
I have another question we don't normally ask, but I think based on your passion for this movie, you might have an answer. So we've talked to other friends and other guests on here about how things maybe changed or definitely changed or whatever after Paul dies. And one thing we've heard is that they thought the Elena storyline in Fate was maybe meant for Mia. That Mia was meant to be kidnapped and it was going to be a Brian thing, but they can't really do Brian in 8 because it's too soon or whatever. I don't know if this is actually fair or not, but like imagine a world where Paul doesn't die, that he's in the movies. Where does the Elena character go? Do you think that it's still the same story in 8, that she's abducted and there's the baby and whatever? Or does Elena just stick with Hobbs? Like, it struck me this time, and I don't know the answer to that, but like, where do we think Elena goes if there's a version of the world where the Brian character is still in play?
I think she goes to wherever. Who's in Too Fast, Too Furious? The
Monica Fuentes, Eva Mendes.
Yeah, I think Eva Mendes and Elena are for some reason paired up on something.
Like
and they're like, look, we love girl power. Remember we let those women fight in Tokyo, and now these two are like, I'm sure it'd be some something like that, because they get called on their like,
and they can talk about how they're underserved in these movies and also in relationships with beautiful Hollywood leading men, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, I like that. That's a good answer.
It would make a ton of sense as a Brian and Mia, the kidnapping of it. And because you could still have Charlize pulling, because Mia is Dom's sister. Like,
exactly.
Best of both kidnapping worlds.
Because
really.
it almost makes more sense than like I know that it's his kid, that baby Brian is his kid, but like he's moved on, like he's back with Letty, and so Elena being there, I don't know.
Plus, we get like the whole like Mia's pregnant again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like
that's set up in this one, right? Yeah.
Perfectly set up to be like
sure.
That's what's gonna happen.
It's a good point.
Do you think that Dom ever gets mad that Mia stole the name Jack, considering his dad was named Jack and he can't name his kid Jack, so he has to name him after the Buster?
First off, Dom named his firstborn son after his very much alive best friend.
Oh yeah,
so he clearly does not care if there's multiple names floating within. Like, he would absolutely name his next kid Jack anyway.
Like, we know, like, I know what they're doing,
Jacks.
but like, name the baby Paul. Yeah. Just be like, hey, Paul.
It's so, that is the most thud moment. Like, again, like I said, I think they handled Paul Walker's untimely and tragic death so well of how they handled Brian. But I think the only kind of dark is, why would you name your child after your living best friend? Like, if I did that, it would be because my best friend was a billionaire and I wanted to be in their good graces. Like,
okay.
There would be a reason, like, what?
So why your firstborn is going to be named Elon?
Yes.
No,
yes.
What is it? Alpha? What is it?
X-Ash 12.
Lord.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're named the same thing. That's so crazy.
Oh, weird. We should be
give
best
you half
friends.
my money. Yeah.
Joe, did you pick up anything new this time?
I was mostly thinking about the timeline of, because like this now takes place and we know where Jacob was. I'm just trying to like rewatch these through the lens of like if Jacob exists and like where is he really at in these things. So.
I feel like the closer we get to 9, the more almost concrete. Like, again, we don't know if we're right or wrong, but it feels like the more right we can be because we're closer to now.
We at least know some things, and like we're getting. That's what I think I'm doing is like I'm working to like establish like closer endpoints. Like I'm bringing the goalposts back so that like when we watch through again, you're like, okay, if we know in 7 that this is where he is, then from 6 you can go back and like kind of backtrack. So
yeah,
I'm impressed. I didn't even think to retrofit Jacob into this, so I'm glad
that was
you
Joe's
did.
That was Joe's idea, because every lap we have a different like theme or different thing. So this time we're doing it's just kind of the Jacob, because we found out because again, this movie was supposed to be out a year and a half ago and it finally came out this year, whatever.
Right.
In past laps we're like, what's the first thing you think of when you think of this movie, or like whatever
favorite
and like
car,
favorite car, and this is just it makes sense that in a lap where we're watching these movies kind of for the first time, knowing that Dom has a brother. Where was he? So, yeah. 2 more very minor things that I noticed this time. So, Kurt Russell, Mr. Nobody, talks about the war between shadows and ghosts. And I'm like, ooh, Jacob, a shadow or a ghost. So there we go. There's one. And I also think that Roman's fear of being in the plane, in the car in the plane, is a nice either foreshadowing or growth moment for him in space in 9. That he's got an issue with heights, but he overcomes it in 9.
Nice.
I like that.
No, it came to mind when he's in there, and it is very funny because, again, like, you have this very masculine, very whatever, who's like, yeah, I'm comfortable enough being such comedic foil that I'm going to bitch out on this mission. Like, that's fine. I'm fine with that, because I think it's a reasonable stance to take.
I
and
think
they're
so,
like,
too.
No, you don't get to take that stance. We're going to eject you. But yeah, I do. There's probably, I'm sure when you watch it again or when you hit 9 again, maybe there's some small inference to it.
Very possible. The only thing, and I have one more thing, and this is actually something you said about, the macho being able to like subvert that, is that I have to have heard this line before, but I feel like maybe I didn't. But when they're dressed up, we were talking about before, Letty says to Dom, "You look handsome." And Dom says a thing that I've never heard, I would never imagine he says. He says, "I feel awkward." I know that he feels uncomfortable in this dressy, but like he's showing vulnerability in a way that I'm just like, that's not very Dom Toretto of him. I feel awkward. It's like, oh.
I think it was more of like a hit, like he's like, I'm such a grease monkey car guy.
Yeah.
Exactly, came across to me less like, ooh, I'm not
I'm
good
exposing
enough for this.
myself and showing my feelings more like I can't be comfortable in stuff I can't fight.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a man of the people.
Yeah.
And the people wear jeans and shirts with no sleeves. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Drea, do you have any more notes, or do you want to find out which Fast and Furious character you are?
Oh my gosh! Get to that.
All right.
I want to find out.
So we found online a long time ago a BuzzFeed style quiz, and we're like, this isn't very good. We can make a better one. So we made a better one. So there are 7 questions, 6 answers per question. Again, no wrong answers, whatever you feel best describes you or whatever, and we're going to find out which character you are. So are you ready to find out which character you are?
Oh my God, I'm so ready.
Question number 1. I know based on, this is going to be a difficult question based on the thing you said earlier, but how fast are you? Which we know not very fast, but are you NASCAR, roller coaster, Lamborghini Murcielago, Toyota Prius, Vespa, or Razor scooter?
Vespa.
Okay. Question number 2, you know it's coming. How furious are you? The Hulk, Kylo Ren, Christian Bale in that one movie set that one time, Mel Gibson, Charlie Brown, or Jack McBrayer?
These are amazing. Well, obviously Jack McBrayer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drea, we're having a barbecue. How are you helping? Are you on the grill? Are you saying grace? Are you kicking back with a beer? I know you think beer is disgusting, so probably not that one. Are you babysitting? Are you being the entertainment? Or are you sneaking a snack?
I'm saying grace.
Okay.
In a more spiritual than a faith-based religion way, but
Yeah,
grace.
it doesn't need to be
Cool.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I mean, this is a franchise where they say they give thanks to God for fast cars, right? Like anything goes.
Sure.
However you want to say grace, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
You got time to kill. What are you doing? Are you grabbing a bite, working on your car, hanging with friends, drinking a beer, working out, or working on your computer?
Working on my computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drea, please describe your wedding. I'm never getting married. It's me and my partner. It's us and our families. It's a backyard country affair. Everyone I know is there. I don't remember.
I'm never getting married.
Nice.
You just won the lottery. What are you buying? Your own garage, a private plane. I'm gambling it all away. My child at home, a fleet of cars, or a new life.
A plane.
Okay.
I mean, you know how I feel about gambling. I've really already sort of shown my cards on a few of these.
Yeah.
Truly. Final question, and this is going to decide it all. What is your drink of choice? Belgian ale, we know it's not that. Corona, we know it's not that. Something fruity, water, whatever's cheapest, or just Joe's getting a drink. Just get me one of whatever you're having.
You guys, I'm a water girl.
Okay.
I don't know if you got a new character or not. You had some good answers there.
You were a new character for a very long time.
Oh,
and
no.
then you pivoted. You've had somebody, but you're a great character. Drea, you are Ramsey.
That is a great character.
Oh,
Inappropriate for this
okay.
movie.
Okay.
But Drea, you aren't what you seem like at first glance, and you often take people by surprise. Material things don't mean all that much to you because you live the best parts of your life in your own mind. Solving problems, learning new skills, inventing things, there's nothing you can't do if you set your mind to it, but that can also sometimes distract you from the world around you. Luckily, your analytical mind also allows you to quickly and accurately size up people, letting you know who to avoid and who's worthy of sticking your neck out for. Family helps keep you safe, so you help keep your family safe, and you drive or hack like the wind blows.
That's fantastic. I'll take that. You know, I watched this whole movie and was like, God, I'm pretty sure I look exactly like her. I'm pretty sure.
I think, we've got a couple of Ramseys in the family. I think Ramsey is a great character to have.
I love
because
Ramsey.
Okay.
And I love her in 9 too, man. Like, she's really come back hard with the driving.
Oh, that whole, forget it. The magnets.
Yeah.
She's so good at that. Their comedic timing's wonderful. Yeah.
All right, we have one more game to play that's called This Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy, Do We Have a Podcast for You.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Come and check out our show. Yeah.
So this is where we go on twitter.com, a.k.a. the Bird app, and we find any tweet from anyone who we think might like our show. So if you found one already, you can send it to me on Zencastr or email it to me, or if you want to find one now. But we're going to review last episode's guesses to see if we score any points. So there's a scoring system. I will say right now, this game is wildly difficult, almost impossible. It shouldn't be, but it is. So we find the tweet, we retweet it, we just say, Boyd, we have a podcast for you. We can customize it if we want. People don't respond to these. I don't know if they think we're a robot. I don't know what it is. But it is so hard to score points. So if you don't get any points, it's totally fine. But we're going to review last episode's picks. I found Ross Miller at Ross T. Miller, who did 3 pictures. He did the cover of the Fast and Furious 9 F9 Blu-ray, then a close-up of the thing that says Director's Cut, and then a picture of Bong Joon-ho saying, to me, that's cinema. And I said, Boy, do we have a podcast for you and Bong Joon-ho, maybe? Ross did not care. No points. Joe, you found Beautiful City at Beautiful City, who said, should I use the cash back I've gotten on my Capital One card the last few months to buy the F9 Director's Cut on Blu-ray?
Oh, my God. And
you said, or we said, we love credit card rewards and the Director's Cut of F9. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. Nothing. And then Heather, who was on our most recent F9 episode, found Todd Munson at The Munson. Don't know why they called it F9 The Fast Saga when F9 They Go to Fucking Space was sitting right there. We said Fast and Furious 10 to Infinity and Beyond. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And Todd liked it. So Heather gets 1 point.
Good job,
which
Heather.
Is very exciting. Heather is now up to 3 points. So, Dre, just for reference, Heather has played this game 10 times, maybe more with us, and she has 3 points. So, again, very low stakes, but...
This is one of my co-hosts on Maximum Film, Ife Wadiwe, and I picked this tweet in particular because it's him in a car posing weirdly, and the caption is, whip dirty, but the drip clean. It's not directly about this franchise, but I mean, it's all right there.
It's all right there. So what would you like to say to Iffy? Well, how do you want to phrase this? If you want to at yourself to give yourself like a little bit of a boost, whatever you want to do, how are we going to get Iffy's attention? What do we want to say? And it's going to link to the show page as a Boyd of a podcast for you. So how do you want to customize this to grab his attention?
Yeah, like put me in there. You guys, marketing is not my... normally I'm...
Again... I phrase this because it is so difficult. I mean, this feels like more of a slam dunk.
The podcast is dirty, but the editing's clean.
Oh, see, there you go. That's on theme.
Right?
I'm going to put in parentheses at the Drea Clark says hi.
Yes.
From this episode.
Yes.
Boy, do we have a podcast for you. And if we can't get him to like or interact with this, with name dropping you,
dude, we're done.
I mean, yeah. There's very few people that my name should count with. Damn it.
Joe, what is yours? Do you have one that you have found?
I do. It's from a little bit ago, but I was basing it on Drea's speaking about these movies this time, and it's Logan likes movies at LVW likes movies. F9 is loud, dumb, and fun. Continues the trend of increasingly ridiculous action set pieces that will exhilarate you while leaving you questioning whether there's any sort of logic left in the world that this franchise is set in. Get on its wavelength and you'll have a good time.
Truly.
And I just want to say, we live our life that wavelength at a time. What's a good, wavelength?
We live our life one wavelength at a time.
Perfect. Yes.
Boy, do we have a podcast.
That's what I wanted. Thank you. Thanks for the help.
Cool.
It was a team effort.
We have to. Yeah.
Yeah, Drea inspired you to find the tweet, and I nailed down the wording. So I'm going to go with the Matt Moen at the Matt Moen recommended for you on Twitter. And this is 10 theme ideas for the next Met Gala. The Fast and the Furious. God. Too Fast, Too Furious. Tokyo Drift. But hold on. It's getting to a thing. Fast and Furious, Furious 6, Fast and Furious 7, The Fate of the Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, F9, The Rainforest.
Okay. Perfect. That works.
I'm going to say we don't like that you snubbed Fast 5, but we do love that you added The Rainforest.
Yes.
Strong proponents we're pro Rainforest on this podcast.
What of a podcast here? Yeah, I did the pro Rainforest in this podcast. Yep, perfect. Because I searched for Furious 7 F9 to see if somebody had made some kind of astute point between the two.
But that's perfect.
And the answer is no. But this guy did this thing, so
I like the
maybe
jokes, man. Even if you just shared that joke with someone, makes me happy.
Well, Drea, thank you so much for joining. This was an absolute blast. I hope you had a good time because we loved talking about this movie with you.
I absolutely did. Thank you so much for having me and For unlike the party time in Abu Dhabi, you guys did this extra late to accommodate my West Coast schedule. Because we don't do a daytime party here.
No. And like you said
all.
earlier, we don't have friends, we have family. So, of course, you're doing us a favor by coming on here. We're happy to bow to your schedule and do it whenever you want. So thank you so much for joining. Where can people find you? What do you want to plug? Where should our listeners get more of you or your show or anything you want to share? Anything you want to say?
Sure. I am sporadically on Twitter at the Drea Clark. And like we said, I have a movie podcast that I host with comedian Ify Wadiwe and film critic Alonso Duralde called Maximum Film. And you have to say it like that because there's an exclamation point in it.
Love it.
That fits the intro so good to this show this time.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good. And it's on the Maximum Fun Network, and we have a wonderful time, and I really enjoy it, and I really like when people listen. But yeah, that's mostly that stuff, and then everything else I do is, behind the scenes, where in the dark, dingy bunkers where the string pullers are.
It's where I live too, so don't worry about that. What was the name of that weird show that with Ludacris and Tommy Lee? What was the name of that again? And can we watch it anywhere, or is that been scrubbed from the internet?
Battlefield Earth?
Battleground Earth. Ludacris versus Tommy Lee. It was supposed to be the flagship reality show for a new Discovery Channel network that lasted like a minute. I don't even know if they all aired. I'm in one episode. Like, that's how it's one of those reality shows that is very heavily like, so in this scene, you guys are saying like, yes, it was so ridiculous. And it was the hardest job I've ever had. One of those things that's like production can be terrible, and that one was terrible, but I made some of my best friends. So there you go.
That's how it works though, right? Like,
yeah.
The hardest times where you find some of your best buds when you suffer through it together.
I feel like now that there's the Discovery Plus app, they should give you a call back and say, we got to do Battleground Earth 2. Like, I can't even find this online. So I want more. I just want Ludacris in things where he's playing himself and he's battling Tommy Lee for some reason. That just sounds like so weird that I'm into it.
It is so strange. Like, again, every city had a different, like when we were in Vegas, for instance, it's like they come up with this idea of, what would save water is when people shower together. Let's make the world's biggest shower. How do we get in the Guinness Book of World Record with the world's biggest shower? So then we made a shower like at an outdoor like Vegas pool party, and there were like hundreds of people in it, and it did end up like Guinness certified. Like, it was so weird. It was so weird.
That sounds beautiful though.
I love it.
Yes.
If there's one takeaway from this episode is go find, however you need to find it, find Battleground Earth and watch it, or just make the world's biggest shower, and then Guinness will come and take care of it too.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Exactly.
All right, Joe, next episode, we are doing another patron pick. Alex Ellenin wants us to watch Redline. So there are two movies called Redline. One is terrible. I've never seen either of them. One is terrible and one is good. Reportedly. I mean, also according to literally everything that I've seen about these movies. One is terrible, one is good. Alex, of course, because Alex is Alex, wants us to watch the terrible one. So next week on the feed, we are watching the terrible Redline. However, after we watch that one, we're going to do a Patreon bonus episode of the good Redline. I don't know what either's about. I'm assuming they're both about cars. One might be animated. I don't know. But Redline, the original title for the first movie, right? Based on the Racer X. Yeah, so I don't know, man. We're going to watch two Redline movies next week. One from Alex, one to spite Alex, I guess. But that's what's coming up next week.
I bet neither of them will be a thin red line, though.
No,
these are all
Terrence Malick.
Thicker red lines.
I'm going to do a Terrence Malick lap and make Joe watch all Terrence Malick movies. We watched one. We watched Song to Song. Remember Song to Song, Joe, for Gosling?
Goss to Goss?
Yeah, Goss to Goss, where blonde Natalie Portman.
Oh, yes. Oh, so Drea, in that movie, like I was watching the movie and I was like way deep in it, and I was like, who is this blonde-looking Natalie Portman in this movie? Joey told me later it
Natalie
was blonde
Portman?
Natalie Portman.
So sometimes, that's the level we're at right now. So, so we're going to do a whole Terrence Malick lap. We'll do the thin red line. We'll do Song to Song again. Who knows? It's all perfect. It all blends in. But yes, two red lines next week. One good, one bad, but both going to be fun on here. So do that thing. But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFastTooForever, or at TooFastTooForever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page at toofast2forever.com on our store, toofast2forever.shop. Come back next week for 2 versions of Redlined, one on the feed, one on the Patreon. And, after that, we'll be back to, I think, Fate of the Furious. But, we'll talk about that next time. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe, too.
And that was Drea Clark of the Maximum Film! Podcast. And we'll tell you all about it.
We see you